HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
It's Kevin and Query.
I throw, you catch. It's not that hard, okay? All right, get the out of here.
I'm going to talk a lot about drills and fundamentals.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it!
On 93.5
Watch it!
and 107.5.
Boom, baby!
The Fan.
Thursday morning. Week's kind of flown past, is it not, Kevin? Please tell me it's Thursday and I'm not wrong here.
You know, it's definitely Thursday.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you've kind of had a busy week. Part tour guide here with the Australian crew. Chicago, right?
Took him to Chicago yesterday. Dropped him off at...
Guess milk a cow at Fair Oaks.
You know, we went right past there. We had a long discussion. Probably a 25-mile discussion / debate about how much energy is created by the windmills.
Boy.
And would there be more energy created if there were more windmills, or is it the same amount of energy and it just depends on how many places it's dispersed?
I'm sure after that talk, they're counting down the days till they can visit Indiana again.
And believe it or not, Michael brought that up. I did not. And he said, Jay, if you mention that on your radio show, I can't really do the Australian accent, but you'll have a lot of people talking about it. Okay. And then we got to Chicago. Daniela cried.
Phone lines are going to light up, Mark, here in the next few minutes, so just watch out for that.
Daniela cried when I dropped him off, and then I got back in the car and headed back. But
you didn't do any tourism while you were there? You just dropped him off, that was it?
I'm not a Chicago tour guide. I go, yeah, look for that water tower. That's your episode.
You kicked him out. That's it. Trip's over. You're on your own.
72
no
hours,
more
you said.
Tim Tams in the car, right? Or
Those things.
Tom Tims.
Tim Tams. What'd you think of the Tim Tams?
Terrific. Outstanding. 9.6.
I fantastic before I put the Vegemite on it.
I played for them the audio of that
part.
segment, and so they assured me there will be a large box of Australian goodies on the way here.
Ooh, okay.
Large box on the way here.
got a
Busy
lot
day for you yesterday?
Yeah, it was. Wednesday, like I was saying to you yesterday, Wednesday's kind of my busy day. The Colts get back to work. So I was up there at West 56th Street. A rather long and notable Wednesday injury report that we can go over. I tend to think like injury reports, Jake. Wednesday, the first injury report of the week, to me, that's just like, all right, what do you need to monitor the rest of the week? Like, it's not overly alarming, but it's just like, oh, that popped up during the game. That popped up during the game. This guy's dealing with that. And there's a lot of it, frankly, for the Colts right now. The Thursday injury report is more like, if you miss 2 practices to start a week, that's where I think the antennas start to go up there. So we'll definitely cover that. We have a lot of guests on the show today. Yesterday we looked at a big one for the Hoosiers in Lincoln on Saturday night. Purdue's got a quarterback injury situation that they obviously are monitoring, but it's an important one for them if they want any hope. And, we talked about it leading to that Penn State opener. Can you get to November and have a chance in the Big Ten West? I thought that was very doable for Purdue looking at this schedule. You blow the Week 1 game, your first Big Ten game, and now here you are, and Aidan O'Connell's health seems to be very much up in the air, and you're playing a Minnesota team. Jake, they're a 12-point favorite over Purdue on Saturday.
Yeah, Minnesota's good. I mean, they're off to a great start. This is what they wanted and thought of P.J. Fleck when they hired him, of him getting Minnesota to this point, and they may be the front runner to win the West, right? I mean,
row your boat down White River.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Rowing the boat, baby.
Has Minnesota ever been here for the Big Ten title game? I would venture to guess no.
That is a good question. I don't believe so.
Now, Northwestern made a visit, right? Was it last year? Or was that the COVID year?
Northwestern's been here. Nebraska's been here. Wisconsin's been here. Ohio State's obviously been here. Iowa's been here. Yep.
So, we'll have Tom Dienhart on at 8 o'clock. Scott Agness' weekly appearance at 8:30. And the 9 o'clock hour, a lot towards Sunday's matchup between Tennessee and Indianapolis. It'll be Turron Davenport from ESPN.com getting the Titans side of things. And Zach Keefer to round out the show today. I don't know if you saw Zach's latest on The Athletic, but it was a reminder of how much Jim Irsay has this game circled on the schedule.
More so or less than he did Jacksonville?
I would say more so. Think about Irsay's history in this division, Jake. Realignment occurred in 2002. The Colts dominated the AFC South. for the first, decade. And then maybe even longer than that. I guess you won it in 2013 and 2014 with luck. And then you haven't won it since. And I think if there's a team, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, that's been your biggest issue within the division, it's been the Titans. I'm sure there's an element, and I'm putting words in Jim Irsay's mouth, but I'm sure there's an element of Mike Vrabel, Frank Reich. They both were hired at the same time, and Vrabel and the Titans have had more success than we have had.
And I think that
and they interviewed Vrabel, which probably adds to that.
You know, oftentimes when we talk about the Colts, Kevin, and it is a weakness of mine probably, but you and I represent kind of two eras of Colts coverage, right?
Sure.
So I kind of default a lot of times back to the first one, the first era when I was around it. And I know that's probably a weakness because, you know, Edgerrin James ain't walking through that door. But I've always wondered, in terms of the Tennessee Colts rivalry and angst, even though what I'm about to mention predated a decade of Colts dominance over Tennessee, when Tennessee starts to rise up again, how much does it reawaken in Jim Irsay the ghosts of, or the angst of, seeing your franchise host a playoff game in your, at that time still, relatively new city, 15 years in, being super excited about it, and seeing this other franchise come in and bring a ton of its fans and beat you?
And you're referencing 1999.
Correct.
Colts are 13-3, and host the Titans, and Eddie George is still running loose.
Correct. Eddie George was looking up at the Jumbotron to see if anybody was behind him while running to the end zone.
Yeah, I honestly think that is something that probably weighs on Irsay's mind, and the quotes will stand out to you. We'll get to that a little bit later, but there's some pretty aggressive comments from Jim Irsay in regards to Sunday's matchup, and obviously for the AFC South. If you look at the history in this division, really during the Colts drought, so look at the 7-year drought the Colts have had within the AFC South, the winner of this division, they win 4 or 5 games in the division that year. Well, if you look at the Colts schedule right now, that means they would have to win the rest of their AFC South games to get to that 4 number. They can't get to the 5 number. There's only 6 divisional games. They've obviously missed out on 2 of those chances, so we'll get to that coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. That was a laser by Aaron Judge last night.
How about the guy? And I pointed this out. I'm stealing it off someone's Twitter, but it is interesting. I'm a little disappointed in myself that I did not think of it. That Aaron Judge, 61 years after Roger Maris hit 61, has now hit his 61st home run, and Roger Maris did it in 1961.
That screams a Jake Query tweet.
I know. But how about the guy in left field? It looked very similar to Mark McGuire's 70th, actually. Or no, 62nd.
Right. McGuire's maybe a little bit further to the left and a little bit lower.
But nonetheless, how about the guy that brought his glove?
Mm-hmm. With the Bichette jersey on, which I love.
And, I mean, like, did it hit his glove, or did he just not get down low enough?
Boy, that's a great question. I thought it might have grazed the glove. I think at that point, Jake, if you're his friends, assuming his friends were around him, you just got to push him in the bullpen.
Push him in the bullpen.
He's just got to topple into the bullpen, and people will feel sorry for him. Maybe the guys in the bullpen will be like, yeah, man, it was the Blue Jays bullpen, right?
I think that's right.
You know, maybe he'll get the ball just off of unbelievable effort, and he can still get his 6 figures that he would have got had he caught the ball in the glove.
His homer, by the way, was a go-ahead home run in the 7th. Yanks then went on to win 8-3 over
I think that's kind of cool. 3-3 in the 7th, full count.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was 9-4 or something. He just comes up,
I guess Toronto, the bases were empty, right? Toronto could have walked him.
Yeah.
In that sense, they obviously did that a whole lot. What was it, Wednesday night or Tuesday night?
Cute Villa, ever since I mentioned that they needed to go 14-2 to get in, I think they're going to go 2-14.
It's kind of shocking that they're even in it.
Well, they're not now, right?
Brewers and Phillies, that's kind of a close matchup in the NL for that final wild card spot. I think it's down to a half game. And then we still have the Mets and the Braves.
There is no team in Major League Baseball that is more to me than the Phillies. Do you know anybody that's a Phillies fan? You ever met somebody like, oh man, huge Phillies fan?
Matt Conti, Colts head of PR, diehard Phillies fan.
Really? Is he from that area?
Yes. Penn State product. Yeah, obviously Penn State is not Philadelphia, but yeah. Gosh, he'll text me. Jamestown, does that sound right? Just outside of Philly? Larry Overton says the bullpen coach who caught the ball is the husband of former ESPN anchor Sarah Walsh.
I'll be honest. I wish I could tell you I remembered or knew who Sarah Walsh is. Does anybody
kind
else
of like
know?
a taller blonde, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think if you saw her, you would recognize her. Well, that's pretty cool.
Oh, Sarah Walsh. She's the one that's married to the bullpen fella for the Blue Jays, right?
Matthew said a guy was on first when Judge hit it. Okay, so maybe that was why they didn't walk
Was it
him.
who?
I thought it was. I thought the bases were empty there. I saw the ESPN Stats and Info said that was the hardest hit home run of Judge's season.
It had been a few days, so he's probably had a lot of aggression in that swing.
A little anger coming out.
I mean, the announcer barely said it's gone, and it would already hit the outfield wall.
Yeah.
Did you see the guy that dropped it that had the glove? And just the look of despair in his eyes.
Can I mention one thing that I think you fellas are familiar with? That I just want to get off my chest.
It's like Mark just missed our 2 minutes of talking about the guy who tried to attempt to catch the ball.
Yeah, I got sidetracked with some family stuff, weather-wise, down in Florida.
Oh, well, I hope everything's okay. Sorry.
It's all right.
I'm thrilled, and I know you guys are too, that and folks listening probably don't care. Maybe it's not even worth mentioning, but we have merged companies with another, which is neat, right? All of a sudden, you just kind of double the size of the family. But it appears as though we do some things we do differently, like the reply all button on emails. Have you guys noticed this?
Yeah, a lot of congratulatory. That's always
I woke up this.
lot of
I woke
syllables
up
for me
this
to say.
morning. I had 274 emails, and I thought, "Oh, what happened?" And some fellas.
Can't say I've had that.
Some guy in accounting at the new joint, his kid won a soccer match or something, and so everyone's congratulating him. Reply all, reply all, reply all. This has to be like a Seinfeld episode, right? I mean, I'm wading through, not to use the Florida term, but I'm navigating through all of these emails to find, there's the one I need. Okay, yes.
How about this one here from the YouTube chat? I've started setting my alarm for 6:58 just to listen to the show live now. I've lost total control of my life.
Now, who's that from?
Wabash Valley Cards.
Karen Query. Okay, thanks, Mom. Wabash Valley Cars or Cards?
Cards. And then he says, beers with Bowen at your pad. That sounds like a plan to me. I don't know what he's referencing there. How many does Judge hit? 7 games to go? Does this kind of get the pressure off him a little bit, or is it to pass Maris? Is that really...
Can he hit 9 in 7 days and get to 70?
Boy, that'd be huge.
Highly unlikely, right?
I mean, does anything else matter on the list? Do you want to pass Sosa at 66? Do you want to pass Maris?
I think at this point,
Do
the
you
only
want to be
thing
the
that
only
matters
one?
is passing Maris because it's the Yankees, right? And it's the league. I mean, Sosa and McGuire were both,
Right.
and Bonds were all in the National League.
Yeah, cool moment last night, obviously, and Aaron Judge gives the home run ball to his mother after the game. Again, long injury list for the Colts yesterday. The notables on said list would include, I don't know if Jonathan Taylor's ever been on the injury list.
Now, aren't you the one that pointed out did you see the Colts did a video yesterday? Did you guys hear the opening to it?
It was you, wasn't it?
Yes, sirree. Who was after me? Can you pull that up, Mark? Go to the Colts Twitter page. They tweeted it out.
Kind of reminded me of our hard Knocks days.
Totally. And part of me wondered, I'm like, where did they get that? Did they just go through and listen to the podcast?
Maybe they're setting the alarm at 6:58 and listening to it. Maybe Ballard said, I heard Jake had some audio, and let's insert that
They've lost
into the
control
video.
of their life. I think did they use my audio as like a how you like me now, like nah.
I tend to think in those videos it's typically, yes, we silence the haters. But I didn't think that was necessarily the audio angle that they went with you.
Okay, here we go. Honestly, if you had to power rank the AFC, I mean, Kansas City's obviously right behind Buffalo.
I don't think this is going to be a close game. If the Colts go down here, I think that's sort of their season on some level.
Yeah, I don't know who that second voice is. I guess your voice is more setting the scene and more saying Kansas City's on this pedestal. I've always said this about those sorts of videos, Jake. Everyone says that they don't listen to the noise until they beat that team, and then they play back all the noise.
Correct, of course.
I mean, that's like how every one of those, and the video is great. I mean, it's very well done.
That's a 7.5 minute video.
Terrific behind the scenes. Yeah, it's kind of a highlight package and mic'd up version of the video. Jonathan Taylor's going to play on Sunday, Jake. There's no issue whatsoever with that. But I don't like seeing a running back with a toe injury.
Man, I'll tell you what, turf toe in particular, I mean, there have been guys that have been derailed over things like that, right? Marshall Faulk, I remember, always was battling turf toe. I don't know, is turf toe just you stub your toe? Is it a jammed big toe?
I thought it was something like tendon related. I remember Will Carroll was on with us one time describing. I thought it was something like tendon related with your big toe.
Connective tissue issue between the foot and the toe. One of the joints in the ball of the foot, when the big toe is involved, is known as turf toe.
Now, why do you think they call it turf toe? Is it because it gets stuck in the turf and that's what
turf toe is named from the injury being associated with playing sports on rigid surfaces such as artificial turf. It is a fairly common injury among professional American football players.
Well, they don't. Well, I guess at Lucas Oil they do play on turf, right?
There's a lot of people that have gripes about the Lucas Oil turf.
Really?
Yeah, they feel like that's an issue.
Have they not played at the RCA Dome?
I don't think the torn ACL for Jamison Williams in the national title game helped that either.
How about the concrete followed by a 1/4-inch carpet pad followed by plastic, like give you a raspberry in a split second if you even look at it, turf of the 1985 RCA Dome. I mean, the fact that they played...
Yeah, they might as well just play on, concrete basketball.
Just ridiculous. I mean, if you're Eric Dickerson or you are somebody who, running back, Bill Brooks, I'd love to know what Bill Brooks thinks of that turf. I mean, in hindsight, that is ridiculous. And there's a reason why guys that played for the Colts back then were completely covered and they taped themselves all over because their entire body was a rash. I mean, have you ever slid on AstroTurf? It's like plastic shrapnel. It's insane. And then the new turf, the problem with it is all the little rubber things, right? They get
little
your
pellets,
shoes. Yeah.
Downy that they put on there.
There's some NFL stadiums, I want to say it's Arizona's one of them, where they bring in natural grass.
Yeah, they've got the field that rolls out.
I think a lot of people are hoping that the indoor NFL stadiums all adopt that from a safety standpoint. Jake, of those 6 names, no Taylor, no Buckner, no Gilmore, no Ryan Kelly, no Yannick Ngakoue, no Julian Blackmon.
Well, the most important of them is Taylor. Because even though, what do you have, 71 yards last week? But the threat of Taylor is what their offense feeds off of, right?
Yeah, Taylor's probably the obvious one. I would throw Ryan Kelly's name on that list, Jake, because in a week where pass protection is a glaring issue for you and communication problems have been atop that list, I think anytime you're missing your center at practice, that's not ideal. And there's one thing that Tennessee does a really nice job of. It's they disguise a whole lot, and Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry are 2 very productive interior rushers. So I'd say, again, Taylor's going to play. Kelly's the one that I think you just monitor a little bit more. He did talk to the media yesterday. That's usually a pretty good sign. But yeah, Stephon Gilmore played through the hamstring injury on Sunday. He was listed with that on the injury report. DeForest Buckner, it's not the hip that he's been battling early in the year. It was an elbow. He was observing practice yesterday. And then no word yet on the severity of Julian Blackmon's ankle sprain.
What player of those that we think of as being key Colts, which one is off to the worst start this year? Because there are a couple of culprits here, right?
Yeah, I'd say probably either Kelly or Kenny Moore.
Kenny Moore is Kelly. I think it may be Kelly, to be honest with you, because so much feeds off of what Kelly does.
Kelly is.
I guess I should have rephrased that, Kevin. Of the guys that are struggling, which is the most important? Which is the most critical to get going?
Yeah, probably Kelly, just for your health of your quarterback.
There's what everybody else does off of him, right?
There's a domino effect more with Kelly than there is with Kenny Moore. I mean, it's a pass-happy league. Kenny Moore is obviously critical, but I don't know about you, Jake. I feel really confident about the Colts on Sunday. Tennessee, I've said all week long, they are wounded and they can't run the football.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And they can't stop the run. Number 1 ranked rush defense in the NFL right now. Indianapolis Colts.
Is this the time of year now where the real Colts stand up? Like,
it's probably hair early for me to commit there. I just don't think this Tennessee team is anywhere near what past Tennessee teams were.
Are you surprised it's still only a 3-point spread?
Yes, and I think a reason for that is the over-under's got to be pretty small, Mark. I don't think Vegas believes the Colts can score enough to really truly run away from Tennessee.
42.5.
That's low.
Yeah.
That's really low.
Yeah.
So they're thinking, what, 23-20?
I think the only lower one than that is Bears-Giants at 39.5.
I did see Justin Fields is on some billboards in Chicago. I was in Chicago yesterday.
Yeah? So he's replacing some of the Brian Urlacher hair ones?
Oh, boy. No, they've got 400 of those. I didn't take 294, thank goodness. I didn't see Urlacher sandwiched between firework billboards. But Marcus, the Australian kid, did say, because Michael, the father, said, well, who is that on that billboard? So that's Justin Fields. He's the quarterback of the Bears. And Marcus, the kid in the back, so they know this much in Australia about American football, said, he's trash.
Oh, that was harsh.
Well,
I mean, they are 2-1.
Yeah, he hasn't been much help at the moment, but hopefully.
Who the Bears got this week?
Giants.
Gosh, the Bears.
They've got
3-1, man.
I mean, their schedule's pretty lined up to where, I mean, even if they get some decent play from him,
could they be that team this year that suddenly hangs around and just backs their way into a wild card where you're and then scores 9 points on wild card Saturday?
Could be.
And gets beat?
I mean, you have the Texans, you have the Giants, then the Vikings, then the Commanders, then the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm still not thinking playoffs, but if Justin Fields could just be a little more competent, I mean, they can make a little bit of a surprise.
Let me ask you this: is Commanders such a weird name and such a bad choice, but it is so far removed from, even though they went through Washington football team, but is Commanders so weird and so unique and such a ridiculous swing and a miss on a name that actually it's effective because you don't even Freudian slip into almost saying Redskins?
We're with the Guardians, it's still the Ians, so you could easily mix that up.
There's no overlap with any other nickname in the NFL, too.
Correct. I mean, when I see the W now, I'm like, oh, yeah, Commanders. I mean, it instantly rings to me.
Which mission accomplished then.
Correct.
That was their goal.
Correct.
I liked Washington football team, though, if I'm not.
I did, too. I thought it was kind of cool. I got used to it.
WTF, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, especially this year with Carson Wentz at the moment.
WFT, right?
I thought every time I saw it, I thought WTF.
Of course.
Dolphins stay undefeated tonight?
Ooh, I got to get that game in. I forget they're playing who?
At Bengals.
4-point underdog, the Miami Dolphins tonight.
Tua's questionable, so if he doesn't
Sounds
go,
like
then
he's going to play. Sounds like he's going to give it a go.
But if he doesn't, then it's Teddy Bridgewater, which I feel like that's still a solid option.
I would agree
cover to win?
To both.
So you guys
you don't like Cincinnati?
I do like Cincinnati, but I think the Dolphins just have a lot of talent, and I don't think the Bengals defense is very good.
Danny Lopez, who is with the Pacers in the business office that we met, he's corporate affairs. Anyway,
they hit a long LinkedIn title.
Yeah, but Danny Lopez of the Pacers is a Dolphins fan. He grew up in Southern Florida and was telling me he's a big Dolphins fan.
FIU product, right?
Yeah, and we were talking about it, and he's like, yeah, he is not thrilled about Teddy Bridgewater. And I'm like, dude, of NFL backups,
gosh, yeah,
for a game or two, he's pretty solid, right?
Was he loving Jacoby and
I don't know who they would have preferred, right?
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater, I would take that as well.
He's sufficient.
Boy, I love the Cincinnati look tonight, though.
Oh, yeah.
The whiteout.
Mm-hmm. Whew. Big fan.
That's a great Thursday nighter tonight. Dolphins and Bengals. I saw that yesterday. Cincinnati Bearcat students were filming Miami's walkthrough at Nippert Stadium.
Really?
Miami social team
posting every play on Twitter,
begging them to take it down. I thought they were building an indoor facility. I thought that was part of the. I guess it's not built maybe in time. Wasn't that part of like we're going to the Super Bowl? We're finally going to finance an indoor facility for you.
The Bengals facilities are like 1977, right?
You literally can just pull over at I-74 and watch them practice. It's rather wild.
That is awesome. Can you? I've told you guys when I covered the Rams Park in St. Louis. I know I've told you guys this is it would be the equivalent in Indianapolis if the Colts, well, kind of where the Colts complex is actually, just except for that there is a residential area not far from Rams Park, and the media was allowed in, so that makes this story even more bizarre. But Mike Martz stopped the practice in the middle of. I'm talking blows the whistles.
Martz.
Kurt Warner drops back to pass, and Mike Martz blows the whistles. I'm like, what is going on? And everything comes to an immediate screeching halt stop. And we stopped for 30. Not we. I wouldn't do anything. I was just there as a media member. But they stopped for 35 minutes probably, and sent out security, and a big fleet of SUVs left the area, and because Mike Martz saw people in trees that he was convinced were spying on and recording the Rams practices. And people were like, I don't think so. No, I'm telling you, that. And then they finally got into the neighborhood and did a big scour and had a helicopter overhead, and it was two 12-year-old kids building a treehouse. True story. NFL teams, Kevin, they do not mess around when it comes to that stuff, right? They do not mess around.
They do not. Moro Nick in the YouTube chat says, bet on the Dolphins. They don't lose to quarterbacks with O in their name. Is that stat still alive?
I think so.
Joe Burrow's got a couple, right?
He's got a few.
I would think right now, do you think there's any irony in the fact that the Bucs had to vacate to go take refuge in a practice facility whose quarterback may be a guy named Bridgewater?
I thought you were going to reference the tampering that Miami did with Brady, and now Brady's in their own facility.
Mark gave me side-eye, right?
I'm trying to think about how that works.
Well, like the Howard Franklin Bridge is underwater, for crying out loud. That's why they had to vacate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm more thinking from the tampering standpoint. Miami just lost a draft pick because they tried to go after Brady, and now Brady's like kicking his feet up and
that's where
to his office.
That's where I thought he was going.
That's kind of awkward. If you're Stephen Ross, you're like, wait a minute. This is what.
Listen, Brady's awkward in general now, and I know that it's easy pickings to like make fun of Tom Brady, but something's going on there, man. He looks weird now. Like whatever he was doing in terms of the avocado toast and trying to stay young, eventually catches up to you, and he just looks weird.
Roy G. Biv morning here in Indianapolis. Looks glorious outside on this Thursday morning. Again, a loaded guest rundown, a little Purdue chatter, some Pacers, and then the Titans-Colts matchup. While the over-under might be low for Sunday, this is a massive one when you're talking about the AFC South and the outlook for the Colts the rest of the season within the division. We'll get to those Jim Irsay comments a little bit later here in the 7 o'clock hour. Kevin and Query on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Yeah, this is Jim from Turkey Run. Tell that JMV to shove that win straight up his ass. All I had to hear all week long is how bad the Colts were and somebody's going to get fired. And all they did was go out there Sunday and beat one of the best teams in the NFL. This team's going to win the division. This team is Super Bowl bound.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Make hiring easier with the Workforce Experts. Hiring is about finding the right person, so let the team at Express Employment Professionals recruit for you. Visit expresspros.com.
It's JMV for the 14 Central Indiana CarX locations. There's one near you. You can check out the full-service auto repair specialist and, of course, the JMV specials. Online now, CarX.com.
Hey there, it's Jay Query. It's a big weekend of racing here in Indianapolis. That's correct. Both of Indy's short tracks, the Indianapolis Speedrome and Circle City Raceway, will be racing this weekend. Saturday night, that's just 2 days from right now, at the Tom Wood Group Indianapolis Speedrome, powered by Lincoln Tech. Full night of championship racing on the historic 5th Mile Oval for stocks, legends, junior fast carts, and mini late models, capped off by the always exciting, and kids will love it, unpredictable figure eight. All happening at the corner of Brookville Road and Kitley Avenue on Indy's southeast side. For location information, ticket prices, and more, check out speedrome.com. And don't forget, on Sunday, Circle City Raceway comes back to life And it's championship night for the Jonathan Bird's 410 Sprint Cars presented by Maston and Kane Warehousing and Services. The Shirley Unlimited Snow Company, UMP Modifieds, Indiana Race Saver Wing 305 Sprint Cars, all going to be running out at Circle City Raceway. Adult tickets for both tracks, both nights, just $10. Kids 8 and under are free. Check out CircleCityRaceway.com for more information. The Indianapolis Speedrome and Circle City Raceway both feature family-friendly action, great food, free parking, and outrageous fun. We'll see you at the races.
Helzberg Diamonds presents The Guy Who Hit a Home Run with an engagement ring. Andy was on a mission to find the perfect engagement ring. But where to start? He did research, went online, asked his best friend for advice.
Hey, for engagement rings, where should I...
Helzberg. Andy went to Helzberg Diamonds. At Helzberg, Andy found an incredible selection of lab-grown and natural diamonds, certified and guaranteed to be of the highest quality. He also found help choosing a custom setting from Julie, a Helzberg diamond expert.
Don't worry, we got this.
Plus, he learned about Helzberg's special financing options, so Andy could get the perfect ring for her with a payment plan that was perfect for him. And when it was time to propose, he got the reaction he wanted.
Wow, you really hit it out of the park, babe.
Mission accomplished. Be like Andy. Find the ring of her dreams at a Helzberg store near you or at Helzberg.com. And right now, take advantage of special financing offers. Hurry, offer ends soon.
As a roofer, every second counts. Late deliveries and incomplete orders cost me time and money. That's why I partner with Beacon. Beacon's unique network of branches work together to get me what I need when I need it. Every branch working together. With Beacon, I know my supplies will be delivered on time and complete. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Go to BECN.com to get started building with Beacon. Beacon, always building.
Are you voting in November? How will you know your vote was counted? I'm Jeff Moorer, and I'm running for Indiana Secretary of State because you deserve a receipt for your vote so you can track it just like a package. I'm asking for your vote for Secretary of State to give you 3 things: a receipt for your vote, an independent audit of all 92 counties, and impartial election results you can trust. I'm Jeff Moorer, and I approve this message. This announcement paid for by Moorer for Indiana.
Hey there, Jake Quarry for BullseyeEventGroup.com. On the website right now, I can tell you it's 136 days till Super Bowl 57. And what better way to celebrate Super Bowl 57, regardless of who's playing, than to do it with the Bullseye Event Group ticket packages and tailgating opportunities. How about the Colts Las Vegas travel package? Yeah, they got you covered there. But most importantly, the Colts VIP tailgate. That's right. Each and every Colts home game right there at Lucas Oil Stadium, right in the shadows of Lucas Oil Stadium. At the Bullseye Event Group Center, you are going to get the best in tailgating experience. Best food, BullseyeEventGroup.com. Best drinks, BullseyeEventGroup.com. And, of course, the best pregame tailgate, BullseyeEventGroup.com. Your one-stop shopping for entertainment and notably Colts needs. Whether you're talking about game tickets, you can get them at BullseyeEventGroup.com, or just simply allowing yourself access to the best experience before the game, the Colts VIP tailgate. J&V will be there live broadcasting. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
Hi, it's Bob from Royal Spa. Soaking in a hot tub full of Epsom salts is the absolute best way to minimize everyday aches and pains. And we know all about Epsom salts at Royal Spa. Royal Spa hot tubs are the only hot tubs on the market that can safely and effectively use Epsom salts. Made right here in Indiana, Royal Spa hot tubs are the highest quality hot tubs on the market. Visit any one of our 3 Indianapolis locations or visit royalspa.com.
Ah, Royal Spa.
Nothing hits harder than this. 5-finger death punch. This Saturday, Ruoff Music Center with Megadeth and special guests, The Who and Fire from the Gods. On sale now at LiveNation.com. Part of the Coors Light concert series. New single Afterlife out now.
So many people here are getting real lasting joint pain relief from QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics has changed my life.
I would recommend QC to anybody. The work that QC Kinetics did paid off exponentially.
It brought me back to an effective age of almost in my 20s and 30s.
QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge regenerative medicine, natural biologics from your own body, precision treatments that can restore and repair damaged tissue in your aching joints, with no meds, no steroids, no drugs, and no downtime.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain.
It is a all-natural natural therapy. You're using you to fix you.
I got my life back. I got my smile back. And best of all, I got my laugh back.
Don't live with that pain anymore. And don't let them tell you surgery is your only option. Learn more about regenerative options from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Call now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 463-235-7160. That's 463-235-7160. In Eagle Creek and Greenwood, 463-235-7160.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by Ball State Football. Get your tickets at ballstatesports.com. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Kevin, we mentioned it last night. Aaron Judge, 61 years after Roger Maris hit 61 home runs. Aaron Judge gets number 61 himself. Of course, Roger Maris did that in 1961. And it happened with the Yankees wanting to go ahead in a game that they would ultimately win over the Toronto Blue Jays. Do we have the audio of it, Mark?
3-3 game in the seventh, Jake. Full count. And
it wasn't a great call, so you're not missing anything there, Mark.
I think the hardest hit home run of the year, and it goes in the Blue Jays bullpen. The guy in the Bichette jersey just lost six figures.
You know what's interesting?
With a glove on, too. That's, like, inexcusable.
Here's something interesting.
I mean, it's the hardest hit ball of the year.
Still.
I mean, Mark McGuire's 62nd barely cleared left field and went into like not the bullpen area, but the auxiliary area where like a team worker got the ball. Hank Aaron's 715th left field into the bullpen. His own teammate was the one that was able to retrieve the ball. And then yesterday, bullpen again, right?
Where did Bond's 73rd go?
That one I think was right center, wasn't it? And
that went into the stands,
Into
right?
the stands, yeah. But it's funny because Bonds is the one that when people talk about like the historic home runs, you never hear anybody really mention Bonds, and he's the king of all, he's numero uno.
Aaron Judge, 7 games to go. Home runs. With 61.
Oh, well, there was the end of it. I don't know what just happened.
We'll find it next break.
Yeah. We're right on top of this.
The Colts had their second practice of the week today. It was a long injury report yesterday. The guys that did not practice include Jonathan Taylor, DeForest Buckner, Stephon Gilmore, Ryan Kelly, Yannick Ngakoue, Julian Blackmon. We'll certainly monitor that today, see how many veteran rest days are on that injury report. But yesterday, Matt Ryan met the media and talked about the communication issues right now in pass protection.
And at times we've done it good, and it's just been at certain times and critical times too, where we've had lapses in that. And for me, the focus has to be on improving our consistency because the good is good, and the bad is really, it's not good. And, we're capable of better consistently. And I think if we can do it, we've done it very well at times, and we've done it poorly at times. We need to be more consistent with it.
One thing I believe to reiterate from yesterday, Jake, is, when you're talking communication, certainly it's Ryan Kelly and Matt Ryan and the 5 up front, but I think there were some misses in protection from running backs and tight ends on Sunday. So getting everybody on the same page, Tennessee is known as one of the more disguising fronts, and certainly they're going to challenge the Colts in that on Sunday. The good news is they're the worst run defense in the NFL. That should be music to the ears of Jonathan Taylor and put the Colts in much more favorable third down situations.
Matt Ryan was born and raised where? Did we look that up?
I believe in the Philly area, actually.
That's right.
I think he went to...
But he's been in Atlanta for a while.
Charter?
Did he pick up a slight Georgian accent down there?
Exton, Pennsylvania.
He has a slight drawl. Does that happen once you move to a city and you live there long enough? I guess it does.
I don't know if I
right?
noticed that.
Play the first part of that again, Mark.
Boston College.
And at times we've done it good, and it's just been at certain times and critical times too.
Right there, times.
Yeah.
At critical times.
Saying he sounds like Brian Kelly?
At critical times. That's right. Matt Ryan is just here with his family. Yes.
Something in the water there.
Thursday night football tonight. Again, it'll be Amazon, Miami, and Cincinnati in a pretty good Thursday night matchup. Honestly, the Thursday night game's been much better than the Sunday night games this year.
That'll fall off. I was looking ahead at the Thursday night
schedule. Are you
saying
Colts Broncos next week?
No, well, that's not a great one, but at one point we have Jaguars at Jets. We've got...
Hey, now, that could be the AFC South leading Jags.
Eagles at Texans, Falcons at Panthers. There's a couple duds.
There are some woof games this weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
It's actually a good college football slate. 5 games of ranked teams, college football. And your Tigers, Jake, probably one of the biggest games of the weekend.
I was going to go down, and then I think it's going to rain the whole time, right?
That's a good point. Gosh,
Night
I remember
game,
Notre
Saturday
Dame.
night, Clemson, North Carolina State.
I remember Notre Dame playing in a monsoon at Clemson and at NC State in the last handful of years. That's college game day. Clemson, NC State.
It'd be big.
McAfee might need the poncho.
Number 5 and number 10.
For that one. All right, we come back here. We'll get into the Colts conversation. Jim Irsay is not hid from his displeasure at the Colts' recent run against the Tennessee Titans. Titans have won 4 of 5 against Irsay's football team. We'll explain more when we come back here. Kevin and Corey, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
Football is back, and so is your chance to win with BetRivers Sportsbook app. Featuring our new multi-game same-game parlay. Combine the action of multiple same-game parlays in one bet for more action and bigger payouts. Bet the spread, bet the over, bet player props, and more. Throw in daily odds boost plus award-winning customer service, and it's a touchdown. Download it today.
Must be 21 plus. Available in Indiana only. Void where prohibited. Terms and conditions apply. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Hi, this is Jiffy Lube owner Steve Sanner. At Jiffy Lube, we are proud to support Hoosier charities and the volunteers who use their vehicles to do more to make Indiana a better place to live. In the past year, we've had the honor of recognizing many fellow Hoosiers who go above and beyond. Do you know someone who volunteers their time at a local animal shelter or leads a park cleanup or delivers meals to those who need a little extra help? If so, nominate them for the Jiffy Lube Do More program at jiffylubeindiana.com. Jiffy Lube of Indiana provides all of our Do More winners with free vehicle maintenance for a year. Because at Jiffy Lube, our trained technicians do more to keep your vehicle on the road. Brakes, tires, batteries, and more. Plus, we've been Indiana's favorite locally owned oil change since 1985. So visit jiffylube.com, do more to nominate someone in your community. That's jiffylube.com, do more.
Start NFL Week 4 off right with a no-sweat same-game parlay with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or already have an account. You'll get free bets back if your Thursday night same-game parlay doesn't hit. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at bigger paydays. So, big one tonight, Dolphins at Bengals. I've got the Dolphins covering the 3.5-point spread. The Joe Mixon and Jalen Waddle's anytime touchdown scores. A $10 bet right there will pay out over $70. Build your own same-game parlay any way you want, or choose from one of their popular same-game parlays pre-built on your FanDuel top-rated sportsbook app. However you want to play, you can bet the NFL on Thursday night with a no-sweat same-game parlay. All you have to do is sign up with promo code MARK if you haven't already have an account. If you do have an account, you're all set. Just opt in on the homepage and see what you've got. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. While you're there, check out their everyday odds, boosts, and specials. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use, and when you win, you get paid quick. So again, promo code MARK if you haven't signed up already, and get your no-sweat same-game parlay today. 21 and over and present in Indiana. 3 legs minimum plus $1 required. Refund issued is now a drawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $5. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Verizon Connect has a new AI dash cam with dual cameras. It's sleek, simple, and easy to install. Oh, and did I mention it's AI smart? It'll give your team real-time alerts.
Tailgating.
And each video is automatically classified and sent to your team, giving you context to help coach your drivers. Best yet, it seamlessly works in one platform that tracks your vehicles, dispatches jobs, and much more. See how Verizon Connect can help manage your fleet at VerizonConnect.com/radio.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. Have you been thinking about a home equity line of credit? Maybe you have some questions about them. Well, the experts are here to help. A home equity line of credit is an easy way to pull out your equity without touching your current mortgage. Right now, your home equity is at an all-time high, but don't wait. How much can you get? Let's find out today by visiting thehomeloanexpert.com, home of the 10-day closing guarantee. The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Diamonds Direct's unbelievable zero-interest finance offer is coming to a close, but you have until this Sunday to take advantage of 5 years zero-interest financing on any purchase. Now more than ever, it's the smartest way to buy. You can get that engagement ring or fabulous piece of designer jewelry and spread your payments over 5 years without paying a dime in interest. This amazing offer is good through this weekend only. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion. Get all the details, including special Sunday hours, at diamondsdirect.com on approved credit.
A new season. A new QB. A new look. Football is back. And so are Bud Light Blue Mondays. Join JMV Mondays at Buffalo Wild Wings for ice-cold Bud Lights, Colts football talk, and your chance to win tickets to Colts games. This week, stop by and see JMV at the Buffalo Wild Wings at 2683 East Main Street in Plainfield. JMV, Bud Light, and you. Doing it for the shoe. Bud Light Blue Mondays.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
In 1994, I was an intern for the summer at MTV in New York City. And not that song, that was his second hit, Coolio's, but Fantastic Voyage, which is a great song, was literally on like probably twice an hour in that summer of 94. For Coolio, and news coming out last night, just about 12 hours ago, that apparently Coolio was visiting a friend, I believe, in California. Went to the restroom, was unresponsive for quite some time. They finally did a wellness check on him, and he had collapsed in the bathroom. Undetermined as to what the cause of death was for Coolio.
I thought I saw cardiac arrest.
I mean, I think that was assumed based on, the way he was found or whatnot. Also,
that song stood the test of time.
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple of really good songs, and then kind of became one of those personalities on different variety shows, if you will. Another one that yesterday that I learned of late last night. If you've ever been to the Rathskeller, either one of you guys ever been to the Rathskeller?
Oh, without question.
Yep,
was there last month.
If you go to the Rathskeller and just before you go out to the beer garden, Wayne Bigby was kind of the head bartender there of the bar in the beer hall just before you go outside. And Wayne is one of those guys. It was unbelievable. I mean, literally, I went in one time and, I've been to the Rathskeller plenty of times in my life, but never like a bar fly by any stretch. But I walked up and the dude said, like, "You want an IPA?" I'm like, holy cow, dude. Like, how did you know that? And like he had a unique ability of every single person feeling like they were Norm from Cheers when they walked in to the Rathskeller. In terms of this city, and I did not know Wayne at all. Only knew him from being a customer of his at the Rathskeller. But in terms of this city and people in the service industry that make every single person that they deal with feel like that's their home, which is what I want for Indianapolis, for everywhere. This city could have benefited from 10,000 Wayne Bigbys working in bars, restaurants, any sort of service industry, hospitality industry of any way, shape, or form. There was nobody better at what they did than Wayne, who also yesterday, it was announced, unexpectedly passed away. And that is a huge void for downtown Indianapolis, for people that enjoy the Rathskeller, which is one of the great crown jewels of Indianapolis.
Love the Rathskeller.
Will absolutely be missed.
Absolutely love it.
Absolutely will be missed. So anyway, moving forward, Kevin, condolences, by the way, though, to the friends and family of Wayne Bigby and to all who crossed paths with him at the Rathskeller. You probably know exactly who I'm talking about. Jim Irsay, this is a big one for him this weekend.
Gargantuan. That's probably the word I would use. Again, we'll have Zach Keefer on in the 9 o'clock hour. He did a great job of going back to last year's meeting. When you think back to the meeting here at Lucas Oil Stadium last year, Jake, do you remember that game at all on Halloween? Colts got off to the big lead. Tyquan Lewis injures his knee and fumbles on an interception return. Carson Wentz throws an interception with his left hand. Colts lose in overtime. A.J. Brown goes off. Just an excruciating loss. And really, pretty much ended your AFC South hopes on Halloween. Because you had lost, down in Nashville in week 3 when Wentz was hobbled. After that game, and Zach has the details of this in his story, after that game, Irsay brings all of his scouts in for a meeting at West 56th Street. And this quote Zach has in a story from Irsay in reference to what he said to those scouts. Do you like being dominated? Because you're getting your ass kicked. We have to get past Tennessee. Well, we don't. Not until somebody stands up and does something about it. I think it's pretty rare for the owner, particularly to do that with calling in all of the scouts. Obviously, a 7-year AFC South drought. Like we said to open up the show today, watching Tennessee, the team that's probably been the most rival-like to Indianapolis. Jake, you referenced the 1999 playoff game here. That probably plays something into it. And I think more present day, the fact that Mike Vrabel and Frank Reich were hired in the same cycle. You interviewed Vrabel before the McDaniels, commitment, and then obviously the decommitment, if you will, and then Frank Reich being the new head coach after Tennessee chose Mike Vrabel. That probably adds to it. So this one, monumental. Monumental for the owner. And when you look at how the AFC South has unfolded to start this year, again, Jake, in the last 7 years, the Colts have not won one AFC South crown. The winner has won either 5 of 6 or 4 of 6 AFC South games. So if you want to win the AFC South, in all likelihood, you've got to have 4 or 5 division wins. That means the Colts would have to run the table to get to 4 AFC South wins.
Doesn't it feel like Tennessee is undoubtedly backpedaling? Maybe not sprinting backwards. Backpedaling is probably the wrong word. But it feels like in the AFC South,
I think backpedaling is the right way to say it.
I drove to Chicago yesterday, and at one point, Michael, the guy from Australia, said, "What are your rules on the left lane here?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, this guy over here in the left lane, at one point on 65, there were 3 lanes." And he said, "This guy in the left lane is going way too slow, like we're about to pass him on the right." So I was in the middle lane, but then somebody in the far right is accelerating quickly. So I have to decide, okay, do I go ahead and get in front of the guy in the left lane now, or is he eventually going to realize he's not supposed to be in the left lane and he's going to merge over, and then I'll just, how do we do this here? And the Colts feel like they are the team that was, they were me. They're in the middle lane, and they're used to being in the left lane. So they've got somebody saying, why is somebody in the left lane that's too slow to be there? Well, that's Tennessee. Tennessee's been in the left lane, but, are they really a left lane team right now?
No.
And Jacksonville's the guy in the right lane that all of a sudden, in the Hyundai, is coming at 90, and you're like, well, where is this coming from? I didn't expect this at all.
They were the number 1 seed last year,
I know. But since then, it just feels like they've just dropped off and they're just kind of coming back into traffic. Does that make sense?
I remember having this discussion the Friday night after the draft. So Thursday night is round 1. The Colts did not have a pick in round 1 this year. Before the Colts took Alec Pierce, before they took Jelani Woods, before they traded back into the 3rd round to take Nick Cross, the best moment of the draft for the Colts, and I would argue the best moment of the Colts offseason, was Tennessee saying "see ya" to A.J. Brown.
That was a huge head scratcher for me at the time, and it looks even worse the way they've started the season, too.
I think for 2 reasons, Mark. I couldn't agree more on that. One is you have a quarterback that I think needs weapons to manage whatever you hope he is trying to manage. Ryan Tannehill is not going to get Nick Westbrook. I think he's added a last name since he's been at IU. He's not going to get him to become a 1,000-yard wideout. This is not a guy that all of a sudden is going to lift the Blair Whites of the world like Peyton Manning might have. And then 2, if you look at how the wide receiver market unfolded this offseason, the 4 main guys that all fell in that draft class, I think it's the 2019 draft class, the 4 guys that play wide out that all wanted extensions, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, those 4, only 1 was traded from his team. Mm-hmm. The other 3 re-signed. And the other 3 re-signed with, I think, different types of teams in that Seattle's kind of in a rebuild. Washington's in this awkward situation with Wentz. obviously, San Francisco, I think, views it a little bit more in a win now. But Tennessee, who you would think would fall into the win now category, given Derrick Henry's age, and just Derrick Henry, age probably is the right term, maybe just given the father time effect of any running back in the NFL, and the fact that he just had an injury that sidelined him for multiple months, it made zero sense to me why Tennessee decided to send A.J. Brown packing. And I think when you've watched them this season, they just lack firepower.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, how many years did they go to the gates with Kendall Wright, Corey Davis? Like, guys are just like, man, if they could get a wide receiver, and then they got A.J. Brown, they traded him away.
Right.
Okay.
Who was the receiver they had drafted? Kenny Nix, was that his name?
Kenny Britt?
Kenny Britt. That was supposed to be,
Corey Davis was the 5th overall pick, right, Mark?
They were always searching for like a big target receiver for so long, a DK Metcalf type that they kept thinking was going to hit. Never happened. Seattle's an interesting one you mentioned, Kevin, because, Seattle, I wonder now how much of it is Seattle decided to rebuild versus Seattle felt like Russell Wilson was no longer, futuristically speaking, going to give them return on investment. Because Geno Smith has not been terrible.
To that point, then wouldn't they trade away DK Metcalf?
Fair.
That's what's odd to me. It's like the teams that you would slot more in a rebuild than Tennessee decided to say.
But would you agree, though, that because you thought to yourself, wait a minute, Geno Smith, that guy was the backup for the Jets 9 years ago, and yet he has not been a disaster, right? You thought when Geno Smith took over in Seattle, it felt like, okay, well, the Seahawks are going in a direction where they just got to have somebody taking snaps. But he's been okay.
What is there? Right? Is it 1-2?
They're 1-2, yeah.
Yeah, I can't pretend I've watched Seahawks Falcons is not on my watching viewing this past weekend. We'll continue the Colts conversation coming up a little bit later. We come back, though, Purdue. It's a big one for them. We'll see on the health of Aidan O'Connell Saturday, a noon kickoff at Minnesota. Tom Dienhart joins us next.
It is caught. Touchdown. Suddenly, things are looking up. And the Colts are going to win. That was a good way of getting the bitter taste of defeat out of our mouths. Now things really start to matter as divisional rival Tennessee makes their way up 65 to Lucas Oil Stadium in a clash of two teams who picked up their first wins. Coverage starts Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with JMV. Kickoff at 1 with Matt Taylor. On your home for Colts football, 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
It'll be first and goal.
Get smarter every day at Ozzy.com. Try a new news site that tells you about the most interesting people, places, and ideas. Try OZY.com. Ozzy, it's a latte for your mind.
Bud Light Blue Fridays are at Kilroy's downtown this week. Drink ice cold Bud Light and sign up for your chance to win Colts Titans tickets as JMV broadcasts live. Bud Light, brewed for the Colts and their fans.
It's the Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Make your game day experience the best it can be. Log on and get your tickets now. It's bullseyeeventgroup.com.
Fall in Indy. And since 2001, Rhino Shield has been covering Indiana homes and businesses. Just ask Mike.
I was watching TV one night and saw the Rhino Shield ad, and I thought, well, if they can do a house, they can probably do a building.
And Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
So they came out and they gave me a price, showed me how the Rhino works, how it lasts, and how the guarantee works.
All right, Indy, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
They started on the building. They waited for us to leave, and they worked Saturday and Sunday so they wouldn't affect our business at all. This was the great part of it. I came back Sunday night, and you couldn't even tell they were here. There was no paint on the ground. They did a fantastic job.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Start a new career with a job that keeps your community safe. The Marion County Sheriff, Carrie Forrestal, is hiring detention deputies to work in the brand new Community Justice Center. You'll supervise and guard offenders, making Marion County a better place to live. Starting pay begins at around $40,000 a year with a $5,000 signing bonus. Enjoy great benefits like complete health coverage and pension plan. Start your career as a detention deputy and earn the respect of your community. Apply today at joinmcso.indy.gov. Tim Tebow is the keynote speaker for Life Center's Celebration of Life Banquet right here in Indy. Register at lifecenters.com for the banquet on Wednesday, October 26th at the JW Marriott downtown. This event is the largest fundraiser for Life Centers, a ministry that helps women making pregnancy-related decisions and provides baby and maternity items to local families. Don't miss Tim Tebow at the JW Marriott downtown on October 26th. Register at lifecenters.com. lifecenters.com.
As a roofer, every second counts. Late deliveries and incomplete orders cost me time and money. That's why I partner with Beacon. Beacon's unique network of branches work together to get me what I need when I need it. Every branch working together. With Beacon, I know my supplies will be delivered on time and complete. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Go to BECN.com to get started building with Beacon. Beacon, always building.
Football is back, and so is your chance to win with BetRivers Sportsbook app. Featuring our new multi-game same-game parlay. Combine the action of multiple same-game parlays in one bet for more action and bigger payouts. Bet the spread, bet the over, bet player props, and more. Throw in daily odds boost plus award-winning customer service, and it's a touchdown. Download it today.
Must be 21 plus. Available in Indiana only. Void where prohibited. Terms and conditions apply. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
My name is Megan Davis, and I am the Director of Training and Communications here at the Humane Society for Hamilton County. We nominated Trudy because he truly embodies our mission and message of whatever it takes.
And I'm Jiffy Lube owner Jennifer Sanner. At Jiffy Lube, we are rewarding Hoosier volunteers who use their vehicle to do more to make Indiana a better place to live.
I think what the most important thing to me is when we get dogs in that are so scared, I just love to take these dogs under my wing. I need my vehicle to be in top shape because I'm driving here 6 days a week.
Each month, Jiffy Lube of Indiana provides a volunteer free vehicle maintenance for a year. Whether it's someone who delivers smiles and supplies or drives somewhere to serve on site, Jiffy Lube supports local givers who count on their car to do more for Indy, and we love to hear their stories.
If you know a volunteer who impacts your community, nominate them today to receive a year's worth of free vehicle maintenance. Just click the Do More tab at jiffylubeindiana.com.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Brownsburg travels to Zionsville on Friday Night Football, presented by CarX. The action begins at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Jake, I think when the schedule came out for Purdue this season, you looked at this, I guess, restart of your Big Ten schedule. You had Minnesota out of the gate, and then you played your non-conference schedule, and now you've got this at Minnesota game. This was one that I think probably would fall a little bit more like in the pick'em area, like when the season started. I know Minnesota's, I think, had Jeff Brohm's number, but now all of a sudden losing to Penn State, you see what Minnesota's done. This now is the Aidan O'Connell injury. This is almost a 2-touchdown underdog for Purdue. And if, again, you want any hope at the Big Ten West, this would seem to be one that you really need to try and pull off an upset on Saturday. Again, it is a noon kickoff from up there. Let's begin here. Tom Dienhart from Golden Black joins us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Tom, I tend to think the Colts can be vague on injuries. I feel like Jeff Brohm takes it to a whole nother level. Any update on Aidan O'Connell?
The update is there is no update. So there you go. You know, we're going to get one last shot to talk to Coach Brohm today, post-practice, probably about 5 p.m. And my guess is he's gonna tell us Aidan's a game-time decision. And we'll get the same for the other litany of guys who missed last week. Of course, don't forget Jalen Graham, the best defensive player, has missed the last 3 games with that tibia fracture. I seriously doubt we see him in Minnesota. They certainly could use him against that physical gopher attack, but all eyes are on AOC. That's the question mark. But again, I wish I could tell you more at this point, guys, as to if he's going to suit up or not Saturday.
So the details we know is he got hurt early in that Syracuse game, and the assumption is something rib-related?
You nailed it right there. You know, we've asked Coach Brohm when the injury did occur. He said the first quarter of the Syracuse game. If you go back and watch it, it's hard to decipher maybe where exactly it happened. A lot of people thought maybe he was on the pick six in the fourth quarter. But no, Coach Brohm said it was the first quarter. Yeah, it seems to be the scuttlebutt anyway. It seems to be speculation seems to be rib-related. Cracked, bruised, who knows? Cartilage, again, no details have been provided. I have asked Coach Brohm on the record. Of course, he's not going to say what the injury is. So, yeah, you know what? If it is a rib thing, you guys know it's football. It's not going to get better till after the season, right? So it's going to be whether you can tolerate pain or not and still function at a high level. So, again, there's pain and there's injury, and we're going to have to wait to see what's going to happen to number 16.
You know, to me, this seems like a big one, Tom. Other than the obvious, Minnesota's really, and I think Minnesota's really good, right? It's on the road. It's in the Big Ten. It's a team that typically the games between Minnesota and Purdue just go bonkers, right? It's usually like a pinball game, just watching, scoring back and forth. And I know this sounds crazy and maybe hyperbole, but is this a big game for Jeff Brohm, or have we just been saying that year in and year out? Or is this, in fact, the one where he needs to put his flag in the ground and say, yes, in fact, I'm the guy at Purdue, and this is what we're going to be?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think this is a flag in the ground kind of a game. This is a game, if you ever are going to scale the summit of the Big Ten West, this is the game you got to win. You mentioned briefly the dominance Minnesota's had over Purdue in the last 15, 20 years. Honestly, it's crazy. Jeff Brohm's 4-1 against P.J. Fleck. He's lost the last 4. You know, Purdue's never won in that new stadium up in Minnesota. They're 0-6. You can go on and on with the bloody details, but Minnesota's had Purdue's number. That's the bottom line. And again, it looks like the Big Ten West is going to go through the Twin Cities this year. And here you are. You get your chance. You're walking right up into their house. Maybe send a statement. I know there's a lot of questions hanging over Purdue. It's going to be homecoming up there. It's going to be loud and crazy. And, yeah, this is going to be a good litmus test for this season and where this program is overall. And just a big month of October, too, guys. Don't forget that. I wrote something this week about October. 3 of the 4 games are on the road. At Minnesota, at Maryland, then you come home for Nebraska, then you go to Wisconsin. This is going to be the month that really tells us what type of season Purdue's going to have, obviously.
Tom, what do you think of Austin Burton last Saturday night?
I think he's a number 2 quarterback, honestly. He does a lot of nice things. I give the staff a lot of credit. They played to your wheelhouse, which is what you got to do with your personnel. Don't ask them to do things they can't do. They rolled them out, got them on the move. We saw some option. We saw some QB run. But, and the big but here, guys, is there's just no downfield passing game. Charlie Jones had, I think, 59 yards catch receiving. The longest catch was 28 yards by a running back, Devin Mockabee, which is mostly a run after the catch. And to really make this Jeff Brohm offense go, you need a quarterback that can take the top off of defense and throw it deep. Austin Burton, he's got a nice arm. He's a nice quarterback. He can get you through a game or two. But I think against a top-level opponent on the road, boy, it's going to be a tall task to ask this offense to function at the level it's going to need to function. It comes to passing the football for Purdue to maybe get a win up there.
Tom, I've got a question for you. Tom Dienhart is our guest on the Payless Liquors guest line. That is not necessarily specific to Purdue, except for that it's the Boilers' mid-October tussle and maybe a game where they've got to kind of right the ship at that time. But what is it, do you think? I have my own theory here, but I'm interested in yours. How and why has it gone so south for Nebraska? And listen, Tom, for guys younger than we, guys in their mid-20s are probably like, what's he talking about? Nebraska, they've always been bad. No, this is a program that when there's a reason the Big Ten went out and got them. And quite frankly, they have not upheld their end of the bargain here the last few years. What the hell is going on with Nebraska?
And Nebraska's becoming a dated reference when you refer to good football, right?
It's like Indiana basketball, right?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. That's a perfect analogy, actually. A brand that's lost a lot of its hue, a lot of its shine, a lot of its glitter, and its overall power and success, which is really what matters, right? I mean, they still have a tremendous followings. Both those brands do. A lot of eyeballs, packed the stands and whatnot, but the on-field product has been waning big time, especially for Nebraska. I mean, my gosh, it's the last conference title was 1999 when they were back in the Big 12. And obviously kids born then are like 23 years old or 21, 22, 23 years old. So, yeah, a long time ago, fellas. I don't think they have an identity. Ask yourself this. You've heard the phrase of making an elevator pitch, right? So you walk on an elevator with somebody, you got right up to the 10th floor to try to pitch somebody on what is Nebraska football. And think to yourself, what would be your pitch? I can't even tell you what their identity is, and that's part of the problem right there. There's been a constant turnover at the presidential level, number one. Number two, a ton of ADs as well, and then a lot of coaches. It's just been a turnstile of styles, leadership, philosophies for 20 years now, and here we go again. They're spinning the roulette wheel, praying that they land on a good coach this time. We all know there's no guarantees. I don't care who you are, guys, how much money you got, what search firm you use, what connections you have. Nobody knows if a hire is going to work, and they're riding that merry-go-round once again here.
Trev Albert, right, is the AD making that call?
Yeah. Trev Albert is making the AD. And, guys, they've got stacks of money. They sit on a mountain of money. They can write a check as big as anybody wants. But they've been throwing money at problems for years. Money doesn't solve every problem you got.
I just think that Nebraska, Indiana basketball's kind of had this issue. I think Notre Dame football had it for a few years there, where the combination of other programs around you elevated. So in basketball for Indiana, for example, Xavier's good now and Cincinnati's good now and, et cetera, right? Michigan State has become a national power in the last 25 years. But in addition to that, the thing, Tom, that made Nebraska so unique was for so long they were able to get the big, strong, in-the-trenches linemen, corn-fed Nebraska players. It was a foregone conclusion those players were coming to Nebraska. Then you complement them with being able to go out and get, like, say, some Lawrence Phillips Junior College kids that wanted to play behind those big lines. Well, now, in today's day, the world is just a much smaller place. So a kid from Kearney, Nebraska doesn't feel like he has to stay in Lincoln for mom and dad to see him play football. Hell, he can go play at Central Florida, and they can watch him on their iPad every single day while they're out on the combine. You know what I mean? So just all the advantages for a Nebraska, kind of just through technology and the change of the world, have gone away a little bit, right? And it's almost like at no fault of their own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that farmer could watch him on his iWatch while he's driving his car.
That's right.
Yeah, I think those are great points. The world's become a smaller place. We live in global villages, somebody once said. And, a lot of the advantages Nebraska sort of crafted for itself in the 70s and 80s and 90s are gone. Remember, guys, the scholarship limits were much bigger back in those days. And they finally got brought down to 85, in the mid to late 90s. The academic requirements in Nebraska, while they're in the Big 8, Big 12, weren't, let's just say, rigorous, and they've been tightened out there, and I think that's had an impact on them as well. And they were one of the first schools, guys, who really embraced that weight room culture too. Built that first massive weight room and just really dedicated themselves to almost a year-round program there. And everybody does the same stuff now, and they have no real edge on anybody from a training standpoint as well, or even a facility standpoint, although the facilities are very nice. So, and then just, what, two guys, another big issue for Nebraska, and this is the issue for a lot of schools. Maybe it's not a great excuse for Nebraska. Is there's no recruiting base. There's nobody to recruit within a 180-mile radius of Lincoln, Nebraska. You got to get on a plane to get everybody. And people think, well, they should have never left the Big 12 because they could always recruit Texas because they had Texas schools in the Big 12. Well, I think you can still go to Texas and get guys. But anyway, you have to cast a very wide net at Nebraska. And the challenges are there. You got to get guys on campus. And once you get them on campus, then you can sell them. But sometimes it's hard to get them there.
The line is climbing, 12.5 last I saw. Purdue is an underdog for a noon kick, and the Aidan O'Connell injury watch continues, and expect another vague answer coming up this evening. Tom, always enjoy your insight. It's a big one on Saturday. Could be Austin Burton again, and hopefully we'll have you on here sometime in October.
Stay tuned up. I'm leaving tomorrow, and call anytime, fellas.
Love it. Thank you, Tom.
Have you been to a game in Lincoln?
No, and
You got to go to Barry's. If you go to Lincoln, you got to go to Barry's.
It's not on like the premium bucket list. It's probably on it at some place. But if Maddie heard that like a Nebraska football game was on my sports bucket list, she'd be like, "What the hell?
Yeah.
What else is on there?"
Sold
out Saturday night,
right? They've sold out for like 200 and some odd straight games, right?
Now I think the IU analogy is a hair harsh.
Ooh.
Nebraska football's in a dark, dark place right now.
I get it. So is Indiana. I mean, Indiana. Right now, no.
They've won some Big Ten championships in the last 10 years. What's Nebraska done? Tom just said 1999, the last conference championship.
They came here in the Big Ten title game. It was one of the first years, but hear me out.
They play in a joke of a division.
Nebraska is a football program who, let's look this up real quick. Nebraska is a football program that had a fine tradition through the 50s, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, et cetera, et cetera. And they had a strong rivalry with Nebraska, Oklahoma through the 50s that was real,
the Big Eight.
That was big time famous, and they were blue blood, like by the book in terms of X's and O's football. And then they made a change, if you will. And in 1973, they hired a new head coach named Tom Osborne. And Tom Osborne was the coach there for 25 years, something like that. And in that time, he won what? How many national titles? 3, I'm guessing, somewhere around there. And yeah, he won 3 national championships in that time, 1973 to 1997. And then things kind of went awry, and I can't remember if he retired, but they've been chasing it ever since. They went out and they had Frank Solich, this is the guy. They got out to a great start. Oh, my goodness, we found the guy. And then, Bill Callahan, this is the guy. Oh, he's got NFL experience. Bo Pelini. And now they're just sitting around, and it's a bunch of people that sit around and talk about how great they were when Tom Osborne was there. And they never should have gotten around to Tom Osborne never should have left, yada, yada, yada. Indiana basketball had great traditions, had great rivalries with Kentucky, had a great coach in the 50s, won titles, then kind of went through a lull, and then in 1972 hired a new coach. Stayed for 29 years, won 3 national titles. He leaves. Yeah, they've had some coaches since that, Tom Crean, this is the guy. Oh, Mike Davis had some early success. Going to be great. Don't worry about it. And then they went into the ranks of a guy who has pro experience, so he's going to be able to awaken the ghost. And it looks like Indiana's on the right path. No question. No doubt about it. As of right now, for this particular year, you are correct. Indiana is in a much better place than Nebraska football. No doubt about it.
And I guess that's where I'm focused, Jake. Kind of in the last 10 years.
Right. But in terms of the fanaticism, the reason that Nebraska football has 125,000 people tailgating and 100,000 inside the stadium and does every single Saturday is because it's people that are chasing the high of the known glory that Nebraska once represented. And for Indiana basketball, even when Archie Miller is missing the tournament for the school for the 4th time in 6 years or whatever it might be, Indiana still has a fanaticism, and people still hang the calendars in barbershops, and people still wait to see like where the games are going to be on, because they're chasing the high of annually waiting to see if they're going to be a number 1 seed.
Not to continue the chasing the high analogy, but they're closer to the high than Nebraska is right now. Nebraska's Mike Woodson hire just failed like none other in Scott Frost.
Right, but what I'm saying to you, Kevin, is
they've been in a
12-month vacuum, you are correct. I'm saying in totality,
but you can extend it. Tom Crean won Big Ten titles.
Again, in the grand scheme of the totality of the understanding of the last, like, say, 40 years in the trajectory of the timelines. In other words, like, they are very on par with one another in terms of where they have been versus where they are. Sure, Indiana right now has more of a heartbeat than Nebraska football does, but Indiana has barely a heartbeat compared to what it once was in college basketball 30 years ago, just as Nebraska in totality has nearly a heartbeat of what they were 30 years ago in college football. And they are both programs. If Nebraska is going to be able to get to where Mike Woodson has Indiana right now, it's because there is the fan base, the support system, and the proof and belief of where they can be because they've been there before that continues to carry them through, that they have the financial support that a Colorado or a Minnesota or an Illinois does not have because of where they've been and the knowledge people have of what it's like. And that's where the two have that in common, that Indiana was also able to sustain the inconsistency of the Crean years and the darkness of the Archie Miller and late Mike Davis years because of that same stead belief over two different eras where they were concurrent with one another's success.
What a wild year in the Big Ten West. Iowa can't score. Wisconsin is nowhere near the Wisconsin that we're used to. Northwestern wins a game in Dublin, and now they stink. Purdue is thinking to themselves for a minute they're going to be a little bit better than they have been in recent years, or maybe could flirt with being in the mix come November, and now they face a huge one on Saturday to largely decide what their Big Ten fate's going to look like. And like Minnesota's the overwhelming favorite.
Minnesota went out and got themselves a guy, and they made a good hire. And you know what? PJ Fleck, I mean, when he was at Western Michigan and rowing the boat, and we thought he was kind of a gimmick guy, and they had huge success. And Kevin, there are a lot of people that might have pulled the plug on that after a few years. What's he been there in Minnesota now? 4 years, something like that? And, you know, sometimes with those mid-majors, you go after the hot hand. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get Archie Miller, sometimes you get PJ Fleck.
I think it's just a tad harsh throwing Nebraska in there without you over the last decade.
I'm not talking about the last decade. I'm talking about the last 50 years. The trajectory of the two is almost identical. And like I said, Indiana has...
Current trajectory couldn't look more different, though.
I don't know that I agree with that because I think that if Nebraska's like 5 years behind. Nebraska just went through their Archie Miller with Scott Frost.
And in hope and fandom, 5 years is a long time.
I don't, again, depending on how old you are. If you're 50, it's not.
Do people view Nebraska as like they're a head coach hire away of
yes.
being like,
yes.
To Tom's point, where's the recruiting pipeline? Where's the modern day approach? When Nebraska was great, football was played a whole lot differently than it's played now.
When Indiana was great, basketball was played a whole lot differently than it's played now.
But the recruiting pipeline you still feel like is relevant for Indiana, and they clearly are recruiting at a high level. Nebraska, I just don't see that happening with a coaching hire.
If Nebraska, there's a reason why, and I'm not saying this guy can coach anymore. I'm not saying this guy's a great coach. But in terms of hot names, there's a reason why when Urban Meyer, when rumor got out there that Urban Meyer might want to return to coaching, what are the two schools that were consistently where his name was mentioned that he could go? One of them was Nebraska, right? People are like, is Urban Meyer going to go to Nebraska? I mean, because of the fan base, Kevin, I mean, you don't get 150,000 people every single weekend for a college football game. That entices coaches. Power is intoxicating. Attention is intoxicating. And payroll is intoxicating. So, yes, if they want to go out and get... They completely swung and missed on Scott Frost, but he was an alum. He was their Steve Alford. It was like if they would have hired Steve Alford coming off of Southwest Missouri State when they went to the Sweet 16, slam dunk, let's hire him. And then if Steve Alford would have had the success at Indiana that he had at, say, Iowa, which wasn't terrible, but not that standard, then he would have been jettisoned along. That's exactly what they just went through. They're simply like one rotation behind. So now they go out, and Callahan might have been a fine coach for him. I don't think they gave him enough time. But I'm telling you, like I told you, when I went to Nebraska and walked up to two guys my age and said, I am from the school, it was like I was saying, like, I am from the future. I am from the school that is your equivalent in basketball in terms of mirroring the trajectory and the place where both programs are. And the guy literally looked right at me and goes, Indiana, man, how you doing? Welcome to Nebraska. Again, it's all relative based on the prism and the spectrum. But if you're going over looking at it in a 50-year time frame, the trajectory and the path of the two programs are very similar. Indiana, to your point, is fortunate that right now they seem to have found a flashlight in the darkness, and Nebraska is still trying to change the batteries. And where they go, I mean, I'm in agreement with you of it may be, Kevin, it might be done for Nebraska football, but it may be done for Indiana basketball. I mean, Indiana basketball might still be good, but are they going to automatically now put themselves back into the category of Kentucky, Kansas, and North Carolina and Duke? That remains to be seen.
Did not have the Nebraska talk on the bingo card for today, but that's where we're at right now.
That's
Purdue.
right.
I did. It was a corner spot.
A corner spot? Okay,
Yeah.
it wasn't the free space?
No.
Purdue and Minnesota, again, that is a noon kick coming up on Saturday. It'll be Indiana, ironically enough, at Nebraska. That'll be Saturday night. IU, a 3.5-point underdog in that one. Back into the Pacers conversation and Colts conversation coming up. Let's hit a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by Ball State Football. Get your tickets at ballstatesports.com. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Colts had a long injury report yesterday with some notable names on it. Jonathan Taylor, a very rare appearance with a toe injury there. Still fully expect him to play on Sunday, but obviously anytime you see his name on the injury report, it catches your eye. DeForest Buckner, elbow. Stephon Gilmore, hamstring. Ryan Kelly, knee. Yannick Ngakoue, looks like some maintenance with that back injury. And Julian Blackmon, no word yet on his ankle severity. The Ryan Kelly one stands out to me, Jake. When you have had the pass protection issues that you've had this season, and communication to me is the biggest reason for the consistent issues you've had, I would really want my center out there with Matt Ryan during practice.
Yeah, I'm telling you. We mentioned it earlier, Kevin. If there's one guy on this roster that their struggles probably is the most contagious, if that makes sense, or the one that most has the rippling effect, it would be center, would it not? Over Kenny Moore? Kenny Moore would be the other one, right?
And I mean, think about this, Jake. Danny Pinter's had issues at right guard, and now I assume yesterday you had to move him over to center.
Correct.
So there is a domino effect there. Again, today's injury report will be big. Tennessee, they are very beat up. Their injury report might not look as jarring as the Colts' initial one. That's because their good guys are on IR, and Harold Landry and Taylor Lewan.
Were we supposed to go to sound there, Kevin?
Yeah,
Did I screw that up?
Who cares? No,
Threw me off there, Kev.
That's on me.
Pittsburgh Pirates over the Reds yesterday, 4-3 in Major League Baseball. By the way, that's a rematch of the 1979 National League Championship Series. Cubs over the Phillies, 4-2. That's a rematch of the first night game in Wrigley Field history, which was later scrapped because it got rained out.
Is this the pop quiz today?
Brewers over the Cardinals, 5-1. That's a rematch of the 1982 World Series. I'm actually just seeing how far I can go down here.
I want more Westminster
of noted rematches.
Should we mention Aaron Judge?
Dodgers over the Padres, 1-0. That's a rematch of the world's largest Macarena that I was a part of when the Padres and Dodgers played in 1996. And the New York Yankees yesterday, 8-3 over the Toronto Blue Jays. It was not a rematch of, but rather live in person. Aaron Judge hitting 61 home runs, which is a rematch of, or a replay of when Roger Maris hit 61 in 1961, which was 61 years
ago. And
the
3-2. Drilled deep to left field. This could be it. See ya! He's done it! Number 61! He's been chasing history, and now he makes it! He and Roger Maris are tied with 61 home runs.
John Starling, is that what you were asking?
I think so,
I think
right?
That's right, yeah.
That was
not a terrible call, but
that was a bullet by Aaron Judge, 61 there. Feel bad for the fan. Tried to make an attempt at it with the glove.
He looked like he was going to puke in his glove after he dropped that ball.
Again, I think if you're, Mark, if that was you or I and that, you drop it in the bullpen, I think I push you in the bullpen and there's some sympathy down there.
I'll go to jail to grab that ball.
Take a broken arm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, what's that ball worth?
Got to be six figures.
Yeah, 6 figures. He gave the ball to his mom. Did you see that?
I saw that. Now to 62, that ball becomes more important, right?
Yeah. I'd say so.
So do you think his mom's cheering for him not to hit another one? Do you think she gets 62?
I think Roger Maris Jr. is just happy he doesn't have to keep traveling with the team. He's like, finally,
I think
it's over now.
I think it is pretty cool that he does that, though. Now
he's probably done with it, though. After it took like a week and a half. He's like,
well, and plus, here's the question. Would Roger Maris Jr. be traveling to C61 if it was, somebody for the Mets? Or is it because it was a Yankee and the first American League player and the first Yankee to do it since Roger Maris that he followed along?
I have to imagine.
Or is he like, am I stuck
that's a good
with
question.
This, you know? Like if
he must have a lot of paid time off.
It's the royalties from the Roger Maris Museum, Kevin. Right? He's making huge money. He's probably retired, right? What? Can you imagine if he's actually 61? God, what are the odds?
Thursday Night Football tonight. What is it? 4-point spread.
What if his birthday's June 1st?
3.5.
3.5. Cincinnati favored over Miami. Does sound like Tua's going to give it a go tonight. This is a good one for Thursday Night Football. The Bengals really need it. Just kind of crazy to look at Miami. So, will the Dolphins 72 undefeated team, will they still pop champagne if the current Dolphins lose?
Of course.
Roger Maris Jr., 63.
Oof.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Close.
Wow. Okay.
Will you guys wake up and watch the London game Sunday morning, Saints and Vikings?
So 61's what his dad hit, 62 surpassed him, and 63 is his age.
Mm-hmm.
See? Okay.
I'll probably be up and watching it, yeah. The girls usually get us up on Sunday morning, so I'll probably have it on.
Did see it was announced yesterday by the NFL, and obviously I don't think we've mentioned today. Certainly our thoughts to everyone in the path of Hurricane Ian. They mentioned that Tampa and Kansas City would be moved to Minneapolis for Sunday Night Football. I think they're going to kind of assess where things are today and probably make a final decision in the next 24 hours. The Vikings in London this weekend, so that obviously allows for the Bucks and Chiefs to potentially play up in Minnesota. All right, Scott Agness, he's going to join us next. Pacers had their second training camp practice less than a week away from the preseason opener. We'll chat with him next about the Pacers.
College football this Saturday on The Fan is brought to you by Absolute Comfort, your American Standard Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer serving Central Indiana.
Diamonds Direct's unbelievable zero-interest finance offer is coming to a close, but you have until this Sunday to take advantage of 5 years zero-interest financing on any purchase. Now more than ever, it's the smartest way to buy. You can get that engagement ring or fabulous piece of designer jewelry and spread your payments over 5 years without paying a dime in interest. This amazing offer is good through this weekend only. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion. Get all the details, including special Sunday hours, at diamondsdirect.com on approved credit.
I'm so thrilled to hear from our listeners that have gotten help through QC Kinetics. It's pretty amazing what they're doing for people right here in Indianapolis. If you've got any joint pain, you need to give QC Kinetics a call today. They are the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, giving lasting relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. Basically, what QC Kinetics is, we're talking modern advances in regenerative medicine that allow the medical professionals to take the remarkable healing powers in your own body, concentrate them, and then put them directly into your aching joints so your damaged tissue can be repaired and restored all naturally. So many people are living their best life again, pain-free, thanks to QC Kinetics. If you got pain in your knees, hips, back, shoulder, don't let them keep you on steroids, and don't let them tell you that surgery is your only option. Get a free consultation. Call QC Kinetics, 463-235-7160, and see what they have to offer. Locations in Eagle Creek and Greenwood. Again, that's QC Kinetics, 463-235-7160.
Hey, it's JMV. Did you know the lack of sleep from snoring can lead to other health issues for both the snorer and the snorer's partner? My friends at Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic can help you. Meet the friendly, helpful, and knowledgeable staff and work with Dr. Steve Green. Yeah, you know, Steve Green from IU basketball fame, the co-founder and clinical director who wants to get everyone a better night's sleep. A better night's sleep is just an appointment away. It helped me. It can help you. StopYourSnoreNow.com or 317-482-7900 today.
Hey there, Jake Query. Big weekend of racing here in Indianapolis for both Indy short tracks, the Speedrome and Circle City Raceway. Saturday night, that is in just 48 hours, a little over 48 hours. The Tom Wood Group Indianapolis Speedrome, powered by Lincoln Tech, has a full night of championship racing on the historic 5th Mile Oval. Stocks, legends, junior fast cars, mini late models, all going to be racing. It's wild and unpredictable figure 8 racing to cap off the evening. All happening at the corner of Brookville and Kitley Avenue on Indy's southeast side. For location information, ticket prices, and more, check out speedrome.com. And don't forget, Sunday night, Circle City Raceway roars back to life for championship night. Jonathan Bird's 410 Sprint Cars presented by Maston & Kane Warehousing and Services, plus the Shirley Unlimited Snow Company UMP Modifieds. Indy Race Saver Wing 305 Sprint Cars. Adult tickets for both tracks, both nights, are just $10, and kids 8 and under are free. Again, free parking, great family fun and entertainment at Circle City Raceway, as well as the Indianapolis Speedrome. We will see you at the races. Again, speedrome.com and circlecityraceway.com.
The weather is getting cooler. The sunset's spectacular. This is when Friday Night Football shines. Two perennial 6A powerhouses look to establish their dominance. The Brownsburg Bulldogs travel to Zionsville to do battle with the Eagles. It's a Hoosier Crossroads Conference showdown under the Friday Night Lights. Brought to you by CarX. Don't worry, call the CarX team. Brendan King has the kickoff tomorrow at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Pacers training camp underway. That means our next guest over at Fieldhouse Files is a must. That is Scott Agness. It's honestly been a pretty busy offseason for him. But second practice of training camp underway. The preseason will open up on Wednesday, and then the regular season opens up, I think it's like the 18th or 19th of October. Yeah, 19th, the Wizards. That will be the season opener for the Pacers here, and a very different-looking season for Indiana. Scott Agness is with us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Scott, anything stand out to you from Media Day? I thought Rick Carlisle, part of me thinks it's coach speak, but just we'll play at least 10 guys, seeing if he holds true to that night in and night out, I think is something that stood out to me. Obviously, you had Myles Turner talk about his trade situation. Anything else really stand out to you?
Not really. I think more so just so many of the new guys just talking about their excitement just to learn and kind of play together, which just all these new parts being put together. But otherwise, I think the overwhelming theme was, hey, we don't even have expectations. We just want to see progress.
Scott, this roster to me, Kevin and I have used the word intriguing and exciting. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to result in a lot of wins for this year. I think we all know what's taking place here. But not named Benedict Mathurin and not named Myles Turner, the player that kind of most intrigues you to see what he can do this year is who?
You'll love this one, Isaiah Jackson.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of just general excitement, I think, after a guy's rookie season, because that summer's always a big one for him. They kind of have an understanding of the game, understand the league, kind of the schedule, the routine, all of that. They figure out, oh, man, I really need to improve here, X, Y, and Z. I thought I was good, but I really wasn't. So I'll be curious to see all the off-season work and kind of how he turns that into a greater role with more being dependent on him.
Scott, I'm curious your thoughts on Bob Kravitz's story yesterday, Myles Turner related. Jake and I had a pretty long discussion about it, and I think Jake's a little bit more open-minded to thinking that Myles and the Pacers could have a future after the season. Bob seemed to slam the door shut on any sort of idea along those lines. Where do you think things stand potentially 2023 and beyond, I guess 2023, 2024 season and beyond with Myles Turner in Indiana?
Yeah, I think it's much more likely that he is elsewhere only because they've already invested in younger guys, and you can see that's the path they're going. Probably headlined by the guy I was just talking about in Isaiah Jackson in the front court. And Myles on the other side of things, one, he's going to want to get paid. And two, if he can also be in a winning situation, he needs to get back to that, wants to get back to that. He's never gotten out of the first round of the playoffs. So, the first few years after he was drafted here, he was able to be on some of those teams that had success still when the Pacers were almost always in the playoffs. Well, that's unfamiliar territory for him, and actually so many. Tyrese hasn't yet. Buddy Hield, been in the league like 6 years, hasn't reached the postseason. So I think a combination of all those factors. I don't rule out a return. I just generally see it as highly unlikely at this point.
The guy that I had kind of forgotten about, quite frankly, Scott Agness, and then I went to the media avail the other day, and oh yeah, that's right, that I think could be like a found $10 bill in your pocket. Aaron Nesmith, the young player that they got from, I believe, Boston, that was he was a former lottery pick, but I just kind of hadn't taken off for him. Do you think they actually have a defined role for him, or is he a kind of a gravy, let's see what we got here kind of guy?
I think they will. Yeah, he's been running with the second unit right now, and he's the one. You go back to one of your first questions, the guys that you're most intrigued to see. Perhaps he's among that group, probably less so only because of the unfamiliarity that most people have with him. That all going down with the trade that was basically just to move on from Malcolm Brogdon. But if he could crack, if he could really hit something here, and it doesn't have to be an all-star level at all, but even if he could become ideally a starter, but maybe a rotation player in the long term, then you really had something. So that was one of the intriguing pieces being brought back. Anytime you can get a lottery pick. I mean, we saw last trade deadline with Jalen Smith, for example. I'm not sure any of us expected him to go off the way he did and then become a phenomenon and trying to keep him. I still, from what I've seen, still a little bit raw, still a little bit kind of unsure, still trying to figure out his way and navigate his way through the NBA, but that's not all too surprising. Hasn't got a ton of reps, has never had a consistent role. Now he can be in a system where he's more of a featured player, and I'm not sure what to expect, but I think he'll produce much more than he had in the past.
Yeah, if he can just sniff what Jalen Smith showed you, and
right.
I guess kind of projecting forward, Duarte, Benedict Mathurin, Tyrese Halliburton, if that's your 1, 2, 3, in the backcourt, if Nesmith can kind of be the first guard off the bench, I think that looks good. Guard wing, I think that would be ideal. I know Summer League was not good for him at all. Granted, he was thrown into a very chaotic situation with when that trade went down. But yeah, he is one that I'm on the list of curious to watch. Scott, do you think Benedict Mathurin starts, or do you think they bring him off the bench and start Buddy Hield and Chris Duarte?
Yeah, I think right now the plan's kind of what I had expected, which is to bring him off the bench. Now, things might change after some preseason games here, but I'd keep Buddy Hield with Tyrese. He's also the veteran. And Chris Duarte, going into year 2 as well. And that, if anything, you kind of make the rookie earn it a little bit. I don't think you just give it to him right away. Now, certainly you need in a high volume of minutes for guys like Benedict, like Chris Duarte, Isaiah Jackson. That's what this year needs to be about, is those guys getting their 25, 30 minutes per game to knock off and check off these game reps and try to speed their way through it as much as they can. But I tend to believe Mathurin will come off the bench, but I would not be surprised if a month or two in, he's back in the starting lineup.
Scott Agness of Fieldhouse Files is our guest. Scott, in terms of the and I realize that you're not in there picking up a ball and running with the team itself, but in terms of tone, the first day of practice I think was a lighter one. People were surprised by that. Players were relieved and surprised by that. What's the intensity been so far, or has it ramped up at all in any way, shape, or form?
Based on what coach and players have said, it seems to be the case. Yesterday, after the second practice, Rick said they've been running and playing to exhaustion. And so if you go off of that, I think that's quite interesting as guys try to get back in shape and such. I think usually day one is just kind of that first day back at school where you can take it easy. You're figuring out where your desk is. One coach is instructing on this, the next coach on that. Now, we're not in there for any of that, but it sounds like the activity level has picked up, and so is the competition, especially defensively. They've been doing these defensive drills, especially towards the end of practice. And the fact that the guys are making sure we know who won shows that it is that competitive. It was the second unit on day one, and yesterday it was the starting group.
Scott, last one from me. There's probably some people that will attend a Pacers game this season that haven't been in the building since pre-COVID.
Yeah.
A ton of renovations. I know you've been all over that story. For those that walk into Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the first time in a few years, what do you think will be kind of the biggest things that they notice about not only the in-game experience, but just the building in general?
Yeah, I'd say when they walk in, the fact that you better not cash does you nothing. You got to remember it's all cashless, credit cards, mobile ticketing, by the way. Then you get inside the bowl, and you'd see a giant new video board, those couple bars that go underneath each the east and west side, which changes kind of how things look within the lower level. And then outside of that, something I have not seen yet is when you look up towards the west stands, they kind of have what I refer to from Colts games, which should, I think, be more like the Bud Light zone, where you're kind of hanging out, socializing, and grabbing a drink during the game. So those might be among the main new features. Oh, and by the way, there's a Chick-fil-A inside. I know that's a big hit, too.
Oh, and probably not a lot of Sunday games in the NBA, so that'll be a frequent stop. There's a new one that just opened up on Washington.
Can they sell Chick-fil-A at concessions on a Sunday in a venue?
They cannot.
I believe in the Falcons arena there's a Chick-fil-A, and they're kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense. But yet they still clean up, right?
And then obviously they got concerts and soccer games and whatnot, but yeah.
Okay. Now, Scott, listen, the arena, I got to go through there the other day, and it is amazing. There is no doubt. And people that go down are going to be blown away by the options. There is a part of me, and I think the Pacers know this. It's the world that we live in, especially in trying to compete with, the LAs and the Miamis of the world. But, Scott, I'll ask you, there is a part of me that almost felt sad because I felt like the game experience is now completely gone from the typical fan. Am I being too harsh?
Not entirely. I think, I want to see it kind of when we're back in full gear again. It's now I think we're kind of pushed through a lot of all that COVID stuff. So, you're really not seeing mass. You hopefully have people a little bit more comfortable going to games and such. But to your larger point, I think it's a little bit more stale. I do, especially the lower level where it's got those two entryways to the bar. One of the big aesthetics parts for me that I miss are the green seats and how it looks in the bowl. Now I think if you pop on a college basketball game that just so happened to be here, or I guess any other Pacer game, you don't look at the uniforms. Is it Atlanta? Wait, is it Brooklyn? Is it Memphis? I think you lost a little of that. However, the upgrades should help just create a better entertainment experience. I'll be curious what kind of a fan engagement both the Pacers and this venue, though, provide this year.
Scott, last one. I wouldn't be... We've had you on for now, consistently 19 straight weeks or whatever, and you got to sneak in a Bally Sports question. I believe that package begins like today or tomorrow. I thought it was late September is when the Bally Sports Plus, you can purchase that. You can't watch the first two preseason games. Is that correct, though?
Yeah, I think they're doing just the second two, which are both at home.
Is there any way we can watch those first two preseason games? Like, do they stream, though?
So this is always one of the biggest questions, I think, and I don't have it. I think if you have DirecTV, usually there's some kind of alternative channel. Sometimes League Pass picks it up. Sometimes it doesn't. And honestly, usually I just find some wild stream that is going there. There's generally no official way to find the other two games that are not televised.
God, I feel like when I do that, I'm always afraid my laptop's going to blow up.
I know, right? And one thing I've been pushing for, I would love, because other teams are doing this too, I'd love Pacers.com to pick them up.
Right.
Like, every game is technically streamed to an extent, right? At worst, they have the one overhead camera that's moving along. You technically wouldn't even need announcers. And a lot of places even, they'll pick up the in-house in-game feed at the arena. And so at least you'll have the PA announcer and a feed. I'd love to see that at minimum to make sure every fan can watch every game this season if they wanted to.
Like, I can watch, Purdue scrimmage athletes in action, but I can't watch the Pacers and the Knicks in the preseason opener?
You can watch the Dolphins practice on Twitter from some guy who snuck in, right?
Yeah, Nippert Stadium, exactly. It just seems a bit odd to me, and I know it's more of a league-wide thing, but like you said, stream it on a website. I assume the Knicks will. Is it the Knicks for the opener? I keep on saying that. I don't even know who the preseason opener is.
Charlotte and then the Knicks.
Okay, so Charlotte. I assume that their Bally or whatever will air it. I don't know. Hell, give me a $2 package.
The Knicks are owned by the cable network that airs them, so they probably have some pretty decent coverage rights, right?
Correct.
You would think.
Yeah, MSG Network. And to your point, Kevin, the Bally Sports Plus went live earlier this week on the 26th, but I think it'd be foolish for any fan to do it right now. You get a 7-day free trial. There's no game. So I think we probably won't have any indication or, responses or feedback maybe here for another 2 or 3 weeks here as people really dive into it. I will say League Pass is really interesting this year because Microsoft took over the back end of it. So I'm really curious to see how much they cleaned up, perhaps streamlined it after taking over that from Turner Broadcasting.
Scott, before we let you go, feel free to plug Fieldhouse Files. For those that aren't following you over there, aren't subscribing, it's an absolute must. So feel free to let us know how to get access there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Just fieldhousefiles.com. If you subscribe, these stories go right to your inbox and hit on a few things, media day, what the emphasis on defense, and then today the fact that having such a young camp, it's led to a lot more instruction and videos and break down different stuff versus kind of picking up the ball and getting after another season. So very interesting things over there at St. Vincent Center.
Scott Agness, Fieldhouse Files. He's with us every Thursday here on Kevin and Query. Thank you, Scott.
Hey, thanks, guys.
A buddy of mine texted me and said that the green seats are terrible. Is it bad posture down there, Jake? Or are you more in the cushed seats?
I can't answer the question on the green seats. Listen,
Or maybe is he talking about just like the look of the green seats?
It's the world that we live in, and I know that. And life moves on, and I know that. I think that I'm not alone in saying this. It is wonderful. Look, Gainbridge Fieldhouse is fantastic. And the game day experience that people enjoy this year is going to be unlike anything they've had before. No doubt about it. I'm not alone, I'm sure. As a matter of fact, you can either tweet me, which is at Jake Query, JakeQuery, or text me, which is 523-9288 is my cell phone number. It's a 317 area code, obviously. 523-9288. If you agree with me that just one last time, I'd love to watch a game in the recreation of Market Square Arena.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Just seats going.
Can we get a throwback in the RCA Dome too?
And just, you know what I mean? Like the simplicity of it, right? Like back when it was just fans, stale popcorn, 2 windows of some place called Market Square Gardens, and loud as hell.
I kind of like when Villanova plays their games on campus and not at the 76ers arena. Like that has that feel to it a little bit.
There's just a simplicity to it that's pretty awesome.
We should ask Scott next week an update on season ticket numbers. I'll be curious about that. Attendance is certainly a big storyline last year. I do think there should be more excitement, more intrigue, just to witness a little bit of a growth and a little bit of a new era. So we'll chat with Scott about that next week. All right, let's get into the Colts and Titans. We'll do that pretty much the rest of the show here. Kevin Query on a gorgeous Thursday.
As a roofer, every second counts. Late deliveries and incomplete orders cost me time and money. That's why I partner with Beacon. Beacon's unique network of branches work together to get me what I need when I need it. Every branch working together. With Beacon, I know my supplies will be delivered on time and complete. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Go to BECN.com to get started building with Beacon. Beacon, always building.
Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query. Start NFL Week 4 right with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Doesn't matter if you have FanDuel or are new to FanDuel or already have an account. You'll get free bets back if your Thursday night same-game parlay doesn't hit. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. So I've been looking at this Dolphins-Bengals matchup for tonight. The Dolphins 3.5-point underdogs. I like them to cover that part of the spread. So get the Dolphins plus 3.5. Joe Mixon and Jalen Waddle as anytime touchdown scores, and Chase Edmonds over 32.5 yards rushing. That seems pretty low for me, so that sounds solid. A $10 bet right there pays out over $112. Build your own same-game parlay or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built in the top-rated FanDuel Sportsbook app. However you want to play, you can bet the NFL on Thursday night with a no-sweat same-game parlay. Just sign up with promo code MARK if you haven't already have an account. And if you do have a FanDuel account, you're all set. Just opt in on the homepage and see what you've got there. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. While you're there, check out their everyday odds, boosts, and specials. They have some especially for tonight's Thursday night matchup. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use, and when you win, you get paid quick. So again, if you don't have a FanDuel account and want to get in on this no-sweat same-game parlay, sign up with promo code MARC, M-A-R-C. 21 and over and present in Indiana. 3 or more legs plus $1 bet minimum required. Refund issued is now withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $5. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
It's JMV for Indiana's best. My friend Eric Wilson and Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st and State Road 37. It's in Fishers. Check it out right now. The GMC Acadia, good for you, the family, and the friends of the family. Inventory, car buying experience, service after the sale, the absolute best. It's one-stop shopping. Ask for Eric Wilson and head to Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st and State Road 37 in Fishers.
Nothing hits harder than this. 5-finger death punch. Under and over. This Saturday, Ruoff Music Center with Megadeth and special guests, The Who. And Fire from the Gods. On sale now at LiveNation.com. Part of the Coors Light concert series. New single Afterlife out now.
A new season. A new QB. A new look. Football is back. And so are Bud Light Blue Mondays. Join JMV Mondays at Buffalo Wild Wings for ice-cold Bud Lights, Colts football talk, and your chance to win tickets to Colts games. This week, stop by and see JMV at the Buffalo Wild Wings at 2683 East Main Street in Plainfield. JMV, Bud Light, and you. Doing it for the shoe. Bud Light Blue Mondays.
Verizon Connect has a new AI dash cam with dual cameras. It's sleek, simple, and easy to install. Oh, and did I mention, it's AI smart. It'll give your team real-time alerts.
Tailgating.
And each video is automatically classified and sent to your team, giving you context to help coach your drivers. Best yet, it seamlessly works in one platform that tracks your vehicles, dispatches jobs, and much more. See how Verizon Connect can help manage your fleet at VerizonConnect.com/radio.
Hey, it's JMV for the absolute best in plumbing. That's Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing. 317-284-9526. Let's talk about 83 a free involving any drain in your home. Means LD Smith is going to come out and make sure your drains are clog free for $83 or the visit is free. That's 83 a free at 317-284-9526. The best in plumbing, Lance and his local team online, ldsmithplumbing.com.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. Not only do we have lower rates, but with our lock-in shop program, we can lock you in at the perfect time and protect that rate for up to a year while you search for your dream home. Then in the future, if rates come down, with a simple refinance, we can lower that monthly payment. Everything starts today at thehomeloanexpert.com. Home in the 10-day closing guarantee.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
It's the Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Make your game day experience the best it can be. Log on and get your tickets now. It's bullseyeeventgroup.com.
Take the next step in your construction career by becoming a union carpenter.
Some of the best pay in the industry.
Amazing health and retirement benefits.
Ongoing cutting-edge training.
Creating my own career path so I can do what I love.
High safety standards.
Great employment opportunities. Why will you join the Carpenters Union? Join the 75,000 men and women in Indiana who build our communities. For more information, visit the Construction Industry Partnership at indianacip.com.
O'Reilly. Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to dissipate heat and reduce friction and wear. Right now, get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select Oil Filter for just $33.99. Try Syntec today, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey there, it's Jake Query, and it's a big Saturday night upcoming of racing at the Tom Wood Group Indianapolis Speedrome, powered by Lincoln Tech. It's a full night of championship racing on the historic 5th Mile Oval for stocks, legends, and junior fast karts, and many late models, capped off by the always exciting, wild, and unpredictable Figure 8. The Indianapolis Speedrome features family-friendly racing action, great food, free parking, and outrageous fun, all happening at the corner of Brookville Road and Kitley Avenue on Indy's southeast side. Location information, ticket prices, and more, all at speedrome.com.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
Helzberg Diamonds presents The Guy Who Found the Perfect Ring. Jake needed an engagement ring, so he did his research, asked his fiance's best friends for advice.
She wants emerald cuts. Definitely.
And he went to Helzberg Diamonds. Jake knew that Helzberg's been in business for over 100 years. That means quality. And with their price match guarantee, he'd get a great deal. And she'd get the ring she's always wanted.
Way to go, Jake.
So be like Jake. Find the ring of her dreams at a Helzberg Diamonds near you or at Helzberg.com.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Join me today. We're going to continue talking about Colts and Titans. Also, Coach Tom Allen of the Indiana Hoosiers, nice enough to join, as is Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts. Join us today, noon to 3.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Hey, Jake, Adam Schefter just tweeted out what we were talking about earlier in the show. The first missed practice of Jonathan Taylor's meaningful football career. That would be high school, college, or professionally. A toe injury for Jonathan Taylor. Some soreness developed after the game on Sunday. Again, fully expect him to play, but I just think it's a reminder, Jake, of, and our next guest certainly knows this with Derrick Henry, of what wear and tear can do at that position. And a toe injury, what was Henry's foot, right, last year?
Yeah, Derrick Henry seems to...
That's the body part you want to avoid.
Right.
If you can. And so Taylor has been extremely rare and extremely durable in the definition of a workhorse, but it's just, I think, something to monitor as the carries continue to build up for him over his career.
So let's bring in our next guest who covers the Tennessee Titans. Turron Davenport joins us on the Payless Liquors guest line. And Turron, I'll begin with this, and when I say it, I give you full permission to later tonight at dinner say you are not going to believe what some idiot in Indianapolis on the radio asked me. But outsider observation, I just think Derrick Henry is just an unbelievable talent and just such a unique talent. But are we already starting to see, because of the wear and tear through college, high school, everything else, are we starting to see any slowdown on Derrick Henry?
No, you're not really seeing a slowdown on Derrick Henry. He traditionally starts a little bit slower and gets going as the season goes on. But the big thing with Henry this year has been how many times he's been hit at or behind the line of scrimmage. And that's something that continues to happen. And when you look at the first couple games, entering last week, he was hit almost half of the times he ran the ball. You know, you were talking about 16 out of 34 carries. He had some contact at or behind the line of scrimmage. So that's really what you're seeing. This is an offense that's still trying to get back in sync as far as the rushing attack is concerned, and it's a gradual process.
Turron, kind of building off that, again, Turron Davenport from ESPN.com is with us. I think I saw a stat, like he's averaging maybe 0.3 yards before contact. It's the lowest of any running back with at least 50 carries this year. Like, again, to your point, it feels like just opposing defensive lines have really owned the line of scrimmage and have not allowed Henry much room to work. And you look at the Colts, and they're the number one ranked run defense in the NFL. It seems like for him in particular, he's a guy that, you know, and any running back is like this, but you give Henry a couple free yards, and then all of a sudden you let that pad level and 250 pounds get to you, and it can be the end of it. Whereas if you can hit him early and kind of gang tackle, that seems to be the recipe that has limited Henry from his typical production this season.
That is the exact recipe. It's find a crease, get to him, and rally to the football before he could get momentum. Because they like to get him downhill. They run those stretch plays. They run, outside zone, and he could put his foot in the ground and cut it back. And he gets to the second level, he typically will break a linebacker's tackle. And once he does that, it's a foot race, and he usually wins those. So you're exactly right with how to defend him, and that's what's happening.
Turron, this is going to sound also, again, maybe a little bit harsh or naive. I don't know. I just got this feeling, and I want you to tell me if it's off base. Not that Tennessee is coming back down to the level of going to miss the playoffs. I'm not saying that. But in the AFC South, there was so much worry in Indianapolis about the Titans, and that's always been the benchmark, that it feels to me like maybe Tennessee is starting to regress a little bit, and Jacksonville is really starting to find its footing, and that those two might be two ships passing in the night. Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know about two ships passing in the night, but I think that the gap has definitely been closed. And all that Jaguars team needed, because they have an awful lot of talent, all they needed was a little bit of hope. And that win that they got, the 24-0 win over the Colts, that gave them a lot of it, And when you have a bunch of young players, and especially with a new experienced coach like Doug Peterson coming in, I watched him with the Eagles in 16 and 17 just really turn things around and get those guys to believe in themselves. And it's just when you have that, young guys that get a critical win, they start really believing in things and buying in. And once you get that buy-in as a program, you're definitely going to be competitive. Now, when you look at the Titans, there's been an exodus of talent, right? A.J. Brown, gone. And you guys know what he has done to the Colts when Derrick Henry was held to under 100 yards. And then you look at Harold Landry, injured. Bud Dupree will probably be back. But there's been a lot of talent. Jonathan Smith, gone. So you're seeing the gap being closed because of that.
Turron Davenport is with us. It's at @TDavenport_NFL on Twitter. He covers the Titans for ESPN.com. Kind of going off the A.J. Brown trade, the Harold Landry season-ending injury, the Taylor Lewan season-ending injury. Do you rank it in that order of impact in terms of their losses? Brown, Landry, and then Taylor Lewan?
Yeah, that's how I would rank it. And the problem, what you're seeing right now, is teams will put the whole city that they play for inside the box. They don't care about the guys on the outside. They don't feel threatened by them. And they used to try to do that before, and A.J. Brown would murder one-on-one matchups. Right now, they're not consistently winning those one-on-one matchups. Robert Woods, Traylon Burks, Nick Westbrook, and Kennan. These guys aren't winning those matchups, and they have to win that. And that's why I talked to Traylon Burks about this, and he said he takes it personally, but it's fine and dandy to do that, but you got to show that you take it personally on the field, and I think that's really where the problem is. And that's why A.J. Brown is the number one missing piece for them. Now, when you look at Harold Landry, obviously he's a guy that not only brings it on the pass rush side of things, he's a very strong run defender as well, but when you take him out, that you lose your best pass rusher. You lose your closer. And I'm talking about situationally, too. He had 12 sacks last year. 7 of those 12 came on third down. That's when it's time to get off the field, and he was the guy helping them do that. So that's something that they really lose. Now, as far as Lewan is concerned, that's a locker room presence that they lose. They like to run left, and that whole left side of their offensive line now is retooled, right? Because Roger Saffold is gone. He's in Buffalo, and Lewan is gone as well. So they are traditionally a left-handed team. They have to kind of balance that out now because, in fact, the strength of their line is on the right with Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, the rookie, and Nate Davis.
Turron Davenport is our guest. He's on the Payless Liquors guest line. He is the Titans writer and NFL writer for ESPN.com. Turron, the backup quarterback's always the most popular guy in town. People in Indianapolis have known that for a long time. But in the case of Tennessee, did they get enough glimpse in preseason and just through camp to find out and determine whether or not Malik Willis is the future once Ryan Tannehill's time has come?
Oh, they believe he's the future. They believe that when they drafted him. But it's just a work in progress. That's a developmental thing, and that's the approach that they've taken. But the thing that's really good about Malik Willis in the preseason, he's layered each game, and he just got better in exact moments each game. And you saw him, initially have a play-action glance route that he stared down and didn't throw it and got, he got 18 yards, but it was, you got to get the ball to your playmaker. He tucked it and ran. The next game, he ended up, throwing that, and it was a big play on the first play of the game. And then you look at the second game, he had Treylon Burks on a crossing route. He didn't get him the football, but then in the third game, he got him the football in the same play. So you're seeing that type of progress. He's made it a point to really make things happen from the pocket, just when it's clean, to stay in there and not vacate it prematurely, and that's big progress for a quarterback like Malik Willis coming out of Liberty. So there's been really good signs, and they believe he's the future for sure.
And half the battle, Turron, you've been around the game. Half the battle with young quarterbacks is finding guys that are perfectly capable and willing to understand everything you just said and kind of let it happen organically, as opposed to coming in and needing the reps right away. What has been his mental approach in terms of, has he shown to be a mature guy in terms of the understanding of the learning that is necessary in the NFL through the acclimation? I
think that's his biggest strength. And I remember talking.
Boy, that's a big one too, isn't it?
What's that?
That's a big one too. I mean, if there's one, you know what I mean? Like that's kudos to him, because that's a strength that not many guys as young quarterbacks often have. Yeah,
well, see, the thing with him is you look at just background. He is a guy who's very strong in his faith. He's a very mature young man, and that has allowed him to take the right approach to this mentally and just say, hey, look, I know I'm talented, but I need reps, and this is the only way that I'm going to get better. I need reps. I'm just going to be a sponge, absorb everything that QB coach Pat O'Hara, offensive coordinator Todd Downing, Ryan Tannehill, Logan Woodside, Mike Vrabel, all these things that these guys are telling me. I'm just going to absorb it, have a humble approach, and just keep progressing. And I think that's really the way he's going about it, and that's just from talking to him, multiple times about it. He understands that, reps are going to help him, and whatever they're trying to teach him is just going to benefit him.
Turron, how bad would it have to get for Malik Willis to be a starting quarterback this season?
Yeah, I think barring injury, Ryan Tannehill is going to play it out. They're going to allow him. They won't flip-flop it. In my opinion, it's very unlikely. So even if it's 2-15, I don't think Willis will get too many starts.
All right, last one for me. Again, Turron Davenport is with us. You hear him often when the Colts and the Titans meet up. It'll be, 2 matchups in, I think, less than a month this season.
Yeah,
between the
2
Colts.
and 3 weeks.
Yeah, between the Colts and the Titans. Where would you call Tennessee's greatest strength right now? Where would you point to for their greatest weakness?
Wow. It's hard to find a strength, to be honest with you, on this team. After
Frank
watching
Reich
them
said
3 games,
they're disguising up front, which probably falls in line with maybe the Colts' biggest question mark right now, is just what the pass rush, how can it disguise? I think obviously personnel, like you said, they've lost a lot in Landry, but that's where Frank Reich pointed to.
Yeah, well, I guess you answered your own question, huh? I don't have to answer it.
I want someone that's seen the Titans a little more.
I think really it's their first half starts. That's their strength. They've managed to come out and score on their first drive in 3 consecutive games, which is something they don't normally do. So, that, in my opinion, is their strength, just finding on those first drives the balance that they need to have as far as running versus passing, and just working the ball down the field.
Turron, are you a native of Nashville?
I live in Nashville now, yes.
But you didn't grow up. Did you grow up there?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Do you enjoy Nashville? Because Nashville to me is a fascinating place because when I was a kid, it was just Opryland, right? And then now it's like this. It's become like Vegas of the East. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it has. It's a lot different now. And even in the 5 years I've been here, I've seen a lot of expansion. A lot. I'm actually sitting at my daughter's high school talking to you guys. And when I first got here, this school wasn't here. And this neighborhood that I'm looking at wasn't here. So it's definitely been a lot of expansion.
So you're a Philly native, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, so see, by the time your daughter's out of school, Nashville's going to be bigger than Philly. That's how it feels, at least, right?
Yeah, it is how it feels. And, Philly is an area, it's a city that's in a bit of trouble, with violent crime and things like that. There was a record for murders last year, and they're on pace to shatter that this year. So that's the big concern in Philly. The violent crime is getting out of hand.
Yep. I mean, it seems to be the case, unfortunately, a lot of places.
Turron, do you think Nashville's going to get a Major League Baseball team?
I'm praying that they do. I'm praying that they do. I lived the first. I was born in New York and lived there the first 10 years. I'm a huge Mets fan, so I would love to not have to go to Atlanta to see my Mets. So yeah, if they could get a team here, I would love it. It's something that they're working on. Dave Stewart, former Oakland A's pitcher, is the guy that's actually helping spearhead it.
Big series coming up for your Mets, right?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Turron, actually, last question on this, because I do think this could have some meaning in Indianapolis. Which is Nashville, I guess, more conditioned for or more pushing towards, a Major League Baseball team or an NBA team? Because I worry with the Pacers, I worry about Seattle and Nashville hanging around there and the possibility there.
Yeah, there hasn't really been much from that perspective. You got the Memphis Grizzlies. Of course, that's 2 hours away, but that's more or less the NBA team that is here, so to speak. There's an actual push. There's a movement towards getting a baseball team here that's in existence. So I would say that's the direction that this city will go before basketball.
It'll be this Sunday at Lucas Oil Stadium, and then as Turron mentioned, these two teams will meet again down in Nashville October 23rd as the Colts will play 5 of their 6 AFC South games in the first 7 weeks of the year. Turron, always enjoy our conversations, and hopefully we can do it again in a few weeks.
For sure. Appreciate you guys. Take it easy.
It's Turron Davenport right there from ESPN on the Payless Liquors hotline. I thought this was interesting from Aaron, and this kind of falls in line of some of your thinking, Jake, last week on picking the Colts. He goes, since many said it's so Colts to win last week, knowing everything Tennessee is dealing with right now, would it also be so Colts to lose this game? Or even so Titans to win this game? I feel like Tennessee...
I'm not sold on Tennessee. I kind of was last year. I'm not this year. Does that make sense?
I am definitely not sold on them. But, Jake, if they have had a staple in Mike Vrabel's tenure, it's been every time they've been counted out, they win. And last year when Henry went down, everyone's like, oh, season's over, Titans are done. What do? They go 6-3 without him, and they become the number 1 seed in the AFC. Remember the COVID year when Tennessee had to play like on a Tuesday against Buffalo, and they had like 40 healthy dudes? They beat the Bills on a Tuesday night.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why it is, Kevin. I look at, maybe it's the injury status of Tennessee coming in, but I just feel like, to Turron's point of Derrick Henry and the slow start, they rely so much on him. And without Brown there, doesn't it feel like it's much easier to hone in on what you need to do to corral Tennessee than it was a year ago?
Yes.
By the way, you're wearing your old school Pacer hat today.
I am,
That's from your uncle, right?
Yeah, Uncle Tad. Mm-hmm. Yep, Uncle Tad. Works on the grounds crew over at the Indians games.
Really?
Done this year.
Now, by uncle, this is what relation?
My mom's sister's husband.
Okay. And he gave you that,
He is a massive collector. I don't think he's listening. Borderline hoarder of old school sports memorabilia, particularly in the baseball realm.
So was that a hat that he originally bought?
Yes.
So he didn't go like Goodwill and buy that hat. I couldn't wear a Goodwill hat. You know
really?
I mean? What's the oldest hat you own of yours?
I had a few shifts back at Goodwill in the day for a little off the field issue, and I really enjoyed my experience there.
What's that?
Just a couple shifts back in the day, way back in the day. College party, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing.
You had a college party at Goodwill?
Too alarming. No. A lot of college kids, I feel like, go to Goodwill for clothes that they will then wear to a party, though.
I feel like he just revealed something and then tried to move right past it.
Well, the morning checkdown's coming up.
Were you at a
I want to stay on track.
Pause for a minute if you want to air out some.
You've never worn a hat from Goodwill?
No, I've never worn a hat from Goodwill. The only time I bought, and listen, I have a great appreciation for Goodwill and what it represents and how it helps people out. I was in Las Vegas. I went out there and had the day. It was like, you know what? I think I actually want to go work out, but I didn't bring any clothes for it. So I went to Goodwill and I bought a T-shirt for like $1 to wear to the gym. And I used the Lifetime Fitness in Vegas. I went to that. And so I wore that T-shirt to work out in and then basically washed it and took it back. But that was not court ordered that I was there.
No.
Do you know the most
court ordered? That sounds hard.
Can I warn you right now of what is absolutely the most depressing? I can't even, when I'm in a Goodwill store, and I do go to a Goodwill store every once in a while.
I was there a few weeks back.
There is one area of the Goodwill store that I cannot go towards. I can't do it.
The coffee mugs?
No. It's the most depressing. It makes me almost want to cry. They're usually it's usually in the back right corner of the store. I know this because I avoid it like the plague. The stuffed animal section at a Goodwill store. A bunch of used, formerly loved, some kid's favorite toy stuffed animals sitting on a shelf.
Well, then it'll become another kid's favorite toy.
I think a lot of them probably end up in a farm somewhere, Kevin.
Woody and Buzz just hang out in the back.
I think the kids section is one of the more popular sections.
Where did Andy go?
The stuffed they're usually kind of soiled.
That's when you need to toss those out. If they're soiled.
Now that's a rather old hat that you're rocking, right?
What one am I? I don't remember what I have on.
Kansas.
Rock chalk?
This is actually a fairly new hat made to look old. The oldest hat I have is I'll wear it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll wear my New York Yankees hat. I've had it since I was in college, and I wore it every single day that I was in. Well, no, I wore a Georgia basketball hat most of the days that I was living in New York in the summer that Coolio was the #1 artist on MTV.
Thinking ahead for Tom Crean.
That's right.
Jim asked, not trying to be rude here, but if Shaquille Leonard could attend full practice every day, why can't he play on Sunday? 8 straight days of full practice for Shaq. As we mentioned earlier in the week, if you kind of just boil it down to one thing, doesn't feel totally confident at 80 or 90%. I will say, this time last week, Jake, I said I do not think that Shaquille Leonard will play on Sunday. I am not slamming the door shut on him for this Sunday, though. Not yet. Not yet. We'll see how the next couple days go, but I'm not yet ready to say that
between
Shaquille
the ears?
Leonard will definitely be inactive. Between the ears, yeah.
We know that phrase all too well, don't we?
That would be a right way to put it. Someone mentioned to me yesterday, though, if Shaq plays Sunday, then he wouldn't play Thursday against Denver. I guess I've never even thought about it. Like the quick turnaround and...
Are they even going to practice this next week? Really?
No. I mean, teams just don't practice in between the Sunday and Thursday nighters. So I've always felt like if he's not going to play Sunday, he's not going to play Thursday because it's not like he'd have that, okay, this is the final practice to check the final box and all that. But we'll see what happens the next 2 days, but I think there's a chance.
Time, by the way, for a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by Ball State Football. Get your tickets at ballstatesports.com. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We begin with this breaking news this morning. Just came out. Adam Schefter had this about 5 minutes ago. Indianapolis radio host Kevin Bowen admitting to the fact that he was involved in some questionable behavior in college. As a result, community service had him working at a local Goodwill where he might have rung you up if you were looking for a T-shirt for a party or any sort of a masquerade.
I was mainly just unloading donations and then slotting them in certain boxes.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I really did.
And what was the infraction that led you to this?
Yeah, cops showed up. I decided to run, and
oh boy,
Okay.
More details, please.
Was there a fence hop? I'd like to know that.
I think the one fence had a door that was just kind of a swinging gate, and I was like, "Oh, this is nice."
Taste? Were you taste?
I'd had a drink.
Were you the?
But were you tased?
Oh, I thought you did have a taste. No, I was not tased.
Cuffed? Were you cuffed?
No.
Okay.
No.
Were you the slowest one? That's why you got caught.
No, there were several of us. So yeah, it was fun.
You know what they say? I don't need to outrun the cops. I just need to outrun you guys.
Mm-hmm. The slowest one, right?
That's right.
Last night, it was definitely not a slow home run. Aaron Judge with a bullet to, I guess call it left center? Left field,
about right.
maybe?
Yep.
And the guy in the Bo Bichette jersey tried to catch it with his glove, and it fell into the Blue Jays bullpen. Number 61 for Aaron Judge. That ties the record for American League players. He now has 7 games left to try and get 62.
He'll get 62, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be relief, right?
Somebody said there's a standing offer for number 62 of $2 million.
See, it's ridiculous. Now you're going to have people that are like, can you imagine the fight over that?
Yeah.
Where are they playing? The final couple series.
Let's find out. I don't know.
That is a good question.
3 games set against the Orioles.
Oh, cute fella.
At home?
In Yankee Stadium. Then at the Rangers.
Oh, there'll be 12 people there.
Yeah. Boy, $5 tickets probably. Let's see what else they got going on. Yeah, it looks pretty close to home for the most part.
Can you imagine if you worked in the Rangers ticket office right now?
Yeah.
How happy you are about this.
Last regular season homestand is 3 games against Baltimore that starts tomorrow through the weekend, and then 4 games set on the road at the Texas Rangers.
How weird is it going to look in Texas when there are literally 8,000 people at the game and 6,500 of them are sitting in left field?
Right, and they all have gloves.
Correct. Left or right, I guess, but I would think left field would be your preference.
Jake, college football this weekend. We've talked about Indiana and Purdue a lot the last couple of days. Notre Dame on a bye week, but you have 5 games involving ranked teams. I'd say of note, Alabama at Arkansas, Ole Miss hosting Kentucky, and your Clemson Tigers hosting NC State. And I think NC State, this is supposed to be one of their better teams of late. And
for sure.
A pretty legit team after Clemson survived
NC State feels kind of like Minnesota, right? Like this year, you're like, whoa. Like NC State had a good year last year too, but
at Clemson, right?
NC State is kind of like the Michigan State of the ACC. You know,
it's a good comparison.
Can't sleep on them, but you should probably beat them. But
Michigan State stinks today.
It is crazy, isn't it? Michigan State's like they're always either 12-0 or 4-8. It's like what the hell? They never can seem to make up their mind.
Colts again. The second practice of the week is today. We talked about it earlier. Jim Irsay, extremely. I would say he was extremely upset, and we'll talk with Zach Keefer about it here in about 10 minutes. About the losses to Tennessee last season. Frank Reich knows the urgency with this team on the schedule.
No, there's no doubt they have had their way with this for, like you said, AC. I mean, it's not been good, especially within your division. So we respect them. They're a good football team. They're well coached. This is going to be a good battle.
You know what we have not, in talking about the Colts today, we've been on the air now for almost 2.5 hours. And really, if you took the over, then you went on this, on how long it took us to finally get to this. I don't know why.
This one from Mr. Gilmore.
People text me like every time. I can't get that out of my head now. That's all I hear. Like, sorry.
You know, I went to high school with Shannon and Stacy Gilmer that were twins. Now, they spell their name Gilmer, right? But
Stefan is Giiii in Jim Irsay.
This one from Mr. Gilmore.
I still want to know what those desserts were. I don't understand.
They looked
what
awful.
They
didn't look like
did
Tim
look
Tams.
terrible.
Like someone wiped their nose and just put it on the table. That's what the green boogers is what they look.
It looked like it just looked like little things of avocado, right?
I mean, is that a dessert?
I don't know.
Poor Alex Pearson.
Stephon Gilmore on the injury report yesterday. He played through that hamstring injury. That was kind of big on Sunday. Of like, Julian Blackmon was already lost during the game. All of a sudden, they're like, Stephon Gilmore hamstring. I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, if he has to exit, you could be scrambling back there. Not only did Gilmore stay in the game, but he made the clinching play of the game. Just beautiful technique for that pass deflection that Rodney McLeod recorded for the interception.
Can we get one more Mr. Gilmore?
This one for Mr. Gilmore.
Boy, now we're hammering the over. It's 3 now. So maybe you're in good shape.
You think we get anything from him, Irsay-wise, pregame video, knowing what Tennessee means to him?
If I will place a good bet if we do, I mean, there'll be an engine of some sort in the background just blaring.
Well, it's a home game.
It's a pan over to the bus.
That won't matter. He'll still be at the Indianapolis airport. You're like, fire the engines. I got to shoot this video real quick.
The bus has to be in the shot, too. I mean, that appears to be the new must, right?
Is that Jerry's bus?
I think he's trying to rival Jerry's bus because you notice that all of his videos now, at the end, they pan over to show the bus sitting there. It's very odd.
Mark, who are you going with tonight? It is a 4-point favorite for the Cincinnati Bengals against the Dolphins.
It's climbed then? It's climbed to 4?
So. I thought I saw 4. 3.5.
I think I'm still taking the Dolphins. Even if Teddy Bridgewater has to go, I don't like the Bengals defense. And I don't think they're going to be able to stop Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Chase Edmonds.
Last I saw, Tua was going to try and give it a go. Any concern over Miami having to play 90 plays defensively in the 90-degree heat on a short week?
I mean, they should be a little more used to the 90-degree weather than most teams, so I think they'll be all right.
I think sometimes we weigh too much into how it would affect we as normal people versus elite-level athletes. Sometimes we get all excited about things and they go out and you're like, man, that wasn't even a storyline at all.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Cincinnati.
I'll take the Dolphins just because they're the underdogs, and that surprises me. So money-wise, you can make more if the Dolphins win, so I'll take the Dolphins there.
The heat is one thing, but I also think that was a massive game for Miami on Sunday. You know, you get Buffalo in your own building, all that. You know, this is a little bit more of a letdown.
And the Bengals have been right there for all their games. They've just, I mean, they
right.
had a heartbreaker against the Jets, and then they were right there with the Steelers and everything. So I mean, they're not a bad team.
Is this the Bengals uniforms tonight? Is it a debut for them?
Or? White out.
Mm-hmm. They look sweet.
It looks
I
awesome.
Like those a lot.
And the field.
Did you see? Not to be a buzzkill here. Speaking of Tigers, one of the 3 there were tiger triplets born at the Indianapolis Zoo, and one of them passed. He was born with some sort of an illness and unfortunately did not survive.
Really?
They just announced that this morning. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Tigers are so awesome, man. They're pretty awesome.
After Mark just slandered me this week with my Tiger Woods fandom.
Well, we're talking about
again. I wasn't slandering.
We're talking about cute, cuddly animals, not necessarily other humans.
Something you said.
Oh, Tiger's been known to cuddle.
Okay.
All right.
With a fire hydrant.
Pop quiz time is here. 317-239-1070. I did inside, Jake. I laughed at the fire hydrant comment. I didn't want to do it outside, though. Give us a call for the pop quiz. Again, a 5 for 5er we had on Tuesday. Scotty J's in studio. I see a 4 to the 5 baseball related. 4 to the 5 baseball related for today's pop quiz. We'll see if we can have
last one's on the house.
2 5 for 5ers in the same week. Give us a call now. Zach Keefer will close out the show.
Right now, your home equity is at an all-time high, but don't wait. How much can you get? Let's find out today by visiting thehomeloanexpert.com.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Hey, JMV, for your 14 Central Indiana Joe Childers run CarX locations, there's one near you. Full service auto repair specialist with brakes, tires, engine alignments, exhaust, oil changes, all within their repertoire. And by the way, the JMV specials coming up for you, $109.99, lifetime brake pads per axle, and save $200 on a set of 4 select Continental tires. Your 14 Central Indiana Joe Childers run CarX locations, there's one near you. To find it, CarX.com today.
Football fans can turn a loss into a win with the king of sportsbooks. Just place a single first touchdown score prop bet on any pro football game. If your bet loses, you'll receive up to $25 back in free bets. This offer is available all season long. Wager confidently and take your game to the next level with BetMGM. Just log into your account or download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Then, wager on any player to score the first touchdown in any pro football game, and if your bet misses, you'll get up to $25 back in free bets. Turn game time into showtime with the king of sportsbooks. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Indiana only. New and existing customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Tim Tebow is the keynote speaker for Life Center's Celebration of Life banquet right here in Indy. Register at lifecenters.com for the banquet on Wednesday, October 26th at the JW Marriott downtown. This event is the largest fundraiser for Life Centers, a ministry that helps women making pregnancy-related decisions and provides baby and maternity items to local families. Don't miss Tim Tebow at the JW Marriott downtown on October 26th. Register at lifecenters.com. lifecenters.com.
Verizon Connect has a new AI dash cam with dual cameras. It's sleek, simple, and easy to install. Oh, and did I mention it's AI smart? It'll give your team real-time alerts.
Tailgating.
And each video is automatically classified and sent to your team, giving you context to help coach your drivers. Best yet, it seamlessly works in one platform that tracks your vehicles, dispatches jobs, and much more. See how Verizon Connect can help manage your fleet at VerizonConnect.com/radio.
It's the BullseyeEventGroup.com Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. All you can eat, all you can drink, 3 hours before kickoff inside the Bullseye Event Center right across the street from Lucas Oil Stadium. Get your passes today. BullseyeEventGroup.com for the Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. All you can eat and the food presented by Food Network Chef Aaron May. Bullseye Event Group offers indoor and outdoor climate control lounge seating for a VIP tailgate experience. All ages welcome. Go to BullseyeEventGroup.com and get your tickets now.
Decades of tradition.
And this is a moment that memories are made.
Tailgating in any kind of weather.
The snow coming down nearly in chunks now.
Face painting and school colors. All the ingredients for the American Standard College Football Saturday. It's a Big Ten battle starting at noon as Michigan travels to Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes. Then stay tuned as second-ranked Alabama takes on Arkansas in an SEC showdown. American Standard College Football Saturday on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
All right, it is Pop Quiz time. 317-239-1070. Zach Keefer going to join us here in about 5 minutes. Jake, number 1 through 8.
We'll go to number 6.
Randy.
Hello, how you doing?
Randy doing swell. How are you?
Oh, not too bad.
Randy, you've been known to have some pretty good performances in the pop quiz.
Well, I hope this one's another one.
Fair enough. All right, Randy, would you like for me, that would be Jake, or for Kevin to lead you off with question number 1?
We'll go with you, Jake.
Okay. Here we go, Randy. There are 4 Big Ten football teams in this week's AP Top 25. Ohio State, who is clearly the best team in college football, is somehow ranked 3rd. Michigan is 4th. Name one of the other 2 Big Ten teams ranked in the top 25. One comes in at number 11. The other comes in at number 21.
Let's go Michigan State.
One of them's playing Purdue on Saturday.
Doesn't tell me much.
I'll tell you this. I mentioned earlier.
Randy, I take back what I said earlier.
I grew up with the Gilmer twins. Their favorite baseball team plays in this city.
This one for Mr. Gilmore.
Their favorite, they're twins. Their favorite baseball team plays in this state.
Randy, we got Zach Keefer in a few.
Minnesota.
Okay.
Number 2, Aaron Judge hit his American League record tying 61st homer. It took Judge 33 plate appearances after hitting his 60th for Judge to go from 60 to 61. Who needed the fewest plate appearances to go from 60 to 61 homers? Sosa, Bonds, Maris, McGuire.
Sosa.
Okay, question number 3. With the Cardinals clinching the NL Central on Tuesday night, Yadier Molina will reach the postseason for the 13th time in his 19-year career. His 102 career postseason games is 6th all-time. Who holds the Major League record for most games played in the postseason? Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, David Justice, or Bernie Williams?
I think it's Bernie Williams.
Okay.
Number 4, Eduardo Escobar hit the game-winning RBI single in the 10th as Turron Davenport's Mets knocked off the Marlins 5-4 last night. Escobar drove in all 5 New York runs. Who was the last Met to drive in 5 runs in a game, including a walk-off? Pete Alonso, Bobby Bonilla, Keith Hernandez, or Gary Carter?
Oh, Gary Carter.
They're paying this guy a lot of money, right?
Bobby Bonilla.
Okay, last question. Name the Braves pitcher who caught Hank Aaron's 715th home run ball.
Tom House.
Wow.
Randy, did you hear Jake's hint before the break, or did you just know that?
I just knew that.
Look at that.
Impressive.
Tom House, now the quarterback guru, right, in the NFL?
That is correct. That was impressive. Here we go. Tom House was correct. Yes! Bobby Bonilla was correct. Was it? Oh, that was, yeah, yes. But then after it was Derek Jeter, Mark McGuire, and yes, Minnesota and Penn State are the 2 teams. You blew it! Zach Keefer up next.
With PXG Golf Clubs, performance is in the bag. Get custom fitted for your new PXG sticks at the Golf Club of Indiana. Located in Whitestown, the Golf Club of Indiana's Performance Academy offers a private PXG fitting bay to get you fully dialed in with PXG clubs that are optimized for distance, accuracy, and feel. To schedule your custom PXG fitting experience at the Golf Club of Indiana, call 480-435-7803 or visit pxg.com. PXG. Nobody makes golf clubs the way we do. Period.
Bowling, 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 keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
Make your plans now for a fun holiday party at any Royal Pin Entertainment Center. Treat your employees to a great time with bowling, appetizers from chips to heavy hors d'oeuvres, food packages from pizza to prime rib, and a wide range of party options from just bowling to laser tag, limitless VR, go-karts, arcade, and more. You can upgrade with adult beverages, craft beer, premium spirits, and frozen drinks. Want a custom party? Their sales team can make it happen. Reward your team for their hard work. Email events at royalpin.com or visit royalpin.com to book today.
Set them up, knock them down, send them flying, spinning round.
Hurry, space is filling up fast. That's royalpin.com.
Royal Pin, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin, bowling.
Don't you love fall in Indy, but you hate the paint? Well, do what your neighbor Mark did. He called Rhino Shield.
It's a 2-story home built in 1992. Around 2001, looking at needing to paint, I heard a radio ad, with Rhino Shield, you won't have to paint again for another 25 years.
That's because Rhino Shield's not paint. It's better.
They're very professional. We had everything done. Everything that would typically be painted on a house was done, and it was very fast.
All right, Indy, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
It was done in 2001 and still going strong. From what I've seen on our home, they can easily offer a 25-year guarantee and not worry about it.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
No paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
BSN Sports is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Nothing more important to BSN than focusing on serving schools' needs. That's why BSN Sports and its partners, Nike and Under Armour, gave away more than $1 million last year to Indiana partner schools. Their local sales pros remove the hassles related to purchasing uniforms, equipment, spirit wear, and anything else your program needs. BSN can also help your business upgrade their look. Follow BSN on Twitter at BSN_Sports_Indy. BSN Sports at the heart of the game.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for their e-club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and score free stuff. Signing up is easy. Visit TwinPeaksRestaurant.com/Peaks-Club. Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views.
Diamonds Direct's unbelievable zero-interest finance offer is coming to a close, but you have until this Sunday to take advantage of 5 years zero-interest financing on any purchase. Now more than ever, it's the smartest way to buy. You can get that engagement ring or fabulous piece of designer jewelry and spread your payments over 5 years without paying a dime in interest. This amazing offer is good through this weekend only. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion. Get all the details, including special Sunday hours, at diamondsdirect.com on approved credit.
Nothing hits harder than this. 5-finger death punch. This Saturday, Ruoff Music Center with Megadeth and special guests, The Who and Fire from the Gods. On sale now at LiveNation.com. Part of the Coors Light concert series. New single Afterlife out now.
American Standards College Football Saturday begins when Iowa hosts Michigan. The coverage begins at 11:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We've referenced Zach Keefer's story a few times on today's show. His latest on The Athletic involving some pretty candid Jim Irsay comments in regards to the opponent coming up on Sunday. That would be the Tennessee Titans, who have won 4 of 5 against the Colts in the last 2 AFC South championships. Zach joins us now. Zach, Jim Irsay wasn't messing around when he called his scouts in for a meeting last year after that Halloween loss to Tennessee, was he?
Are there any other Jim Irsay comments that are not candid? I heard your description there.
This was particular candid and maybe a little PG-13.
Yeah, a little specific, too, about one particular team. These were before that Halloween game.
Okay.
This was after the 0-3 game, and he called them all in, and he ripped into them. And he was very, very, very candid with us when we talked about this back in the spring, about how much it just angers him that his team cannot get over the hump against Tennessee. So I don't think there's very many meetings this team has where every coach in the building comes in for a meeting, and then the scouts that are in town sit down with the owner during the season. It just doesn't happen. But that's kind of a peek into just how furious this guy is that they cannot beat this Tennessee Titans team.
Zach, Jim Irsay, I think most would agree, is a good owner. He's obviously an eccentric personality. He's a kind guy. And I know that he is passionate about football because he's been around it his whole life. That's the good thing. The bad thing sometimes might be that he's been around football and he's passionate about it because he's been around it his whole life. Do you believe that there's ever a time where he starts to toe that line of becoming an overly involved owner?
I certainly think it's possible. I think that's a question better answered by Chris Ballard or Frank Reich, but I certainly, and obviously, Jake, I'm coming from the side of, I'm writing about this, and this is interesting. And it's interesting when the owner gets out and says what he does about this team that they haven't beaten in the last couple of years. But does this help the team right now? I don't necessarily think it does. But I think it's a double-edged sword, and you've been around this team for a long time as well. It's where does the passion stop and where does it become too much? And that's a hard question for me to answer because I think you'd rather have that than not. I think you'd rather have an owner who's, one, knows what's going on and understands what's going on and isn't just in this for the paycheck. A lot of owners are into other businesses. This is Irsay's life in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think it's a fair question to ask. And look, I mean, I'm peeking ahead a little bit, but when the Commanders come into town in a couple of weeks, I think a lot of the focus is going to shift to what Jim Irsay has said publicly about Carson Wentz. And I don't think maybe that's a good storyline for the Colts heading into that game.
Zach, one more on these Irsay comments front. And again, you can check out Zach's latest on The Athletic with these comments in here about Tennessee, and again, winners of 4 of 5 in this series. How much of it, if any at all, do you think comes from him sitting here looking at his franchise in the Frank Reich tenure, which also matches up with the Mike Vrabel tenure, who the Colts did interview in that same hiring cycle, and it's Vrabel's Titans that have won 2 division titles, made longer playoff runs, have won 4 or 5 against the Colts?
I think you nailed it. I think Jim Irsay really admires Mike Vrabel. He's said this publicly several times, and privately as well. I think he really admires the work Mike Vrabel does. And I think he sees, at least in the past, let's not get to this year because we don't know what's going to happen, but I think he sees the Titans as a better version of the Colts, right? I think Vrabel gets as much out of his roster as any coach in the league, and they have exceeded expectations a lot with that roster. I mean, they have not had an elite quarterback. They've made a run to the AFC title game. They've won the division twice, and really, until Jacksonville does it, they've started well, but until the Colts do it, this division runs through Tennessee, and I don't care that they're 1-2 right now. I still think, even though they've lost some pieces, these teams are going to have to beat the Titans. And, no Landry and no Lewan and obviously no A.J. Brown. That's going to change things moving forward. But I think, I think Chris Ballard was going to hire an offensive coach in 2018. He did hire, he did interview Mike Vrabel. But I think Irsay looks at the Titans and sees a better version of his team in the past couple of years. I think that really bothers him. Now, Derrick Henry hit his peak a little bit before Jonathan Taylor, and Taylor is obviously very much in it. Whether Henry is still in it, we'll see throughout this season. But, look, the Colts want to be a dogfight, punch-you-in-the-mouth, trenches teams, right? At their best, that's what they're going to be right now with this roster as it's currently constructed. And the Titans have simply just beat them at their own game the last couple of years, and I think that really bothers Jim Irsay.
Speaking of the construction of the roster, Zach, it's the beginning of the year, and we've talked a lot about it. Chris Ballard said that he wants depth. Depth is the thing that he most kind of obsesses over. Now that we are, the season is underway, and there have been some nicks and bruises here and there, the area on this roster that you feel they actually do have the most depth, and the area that you might have anticipated depth that now starts to look like maybe it could be exposed.
I really like the linebacker group, and I don't want to get everyone all excited, but I did see yesterday when the first-team defense was out there, I saw 53 with that group, and I hadn't seen that the last couple of weeks. I'm not making a prediction, but I did see Shaq Leonard out there with that team, and I thought Zaire Franklin played a terrific game on Sunday. So E.J. Speed's been up, he's been down, but he did make the big play in Houston. I do think the linebacker depth is pretty good, and Ballard's been pretty good at that throughout his career. Okereke played a lot better on Sunday as well. I don't know, Jake. I was down on the tight ends big time in September and August, and I don't know if that changes a lot based on Sunday. You got to give Jelani Woods a ton of credit for making those 2 catches. I mean, what a start for him. He stepped up and he won the game when this team needed it, and that's what you want. I don't think he's going to see a huge uptick in snaps. I just don't see that. And I still think the loss of Ogletree is bigger than most realize because he was going to get a lot of snaps too. So, Colin Grant's biggest contributions have been on special teams so far, and Mo Alley-Cox has not done very much in the passing game. I know he's a big blocker, but I just don't like that tight end group. So I don't think that answers your question because I'm not really moving in one direction with that group. How do you guys feel about the wide receivers? I thought it was a really good day for Alec Pierce. He did exactly what we watched him do at Cincinnati on tape, those jump balls down the sideline. He gives them a vertical threat. He spreads the field. Ashton Doolin is a scrappy receiver who makes plays. Paris Campbell had the third down catch. He needs to do more. But Desmond Patman and Michael Strawn, the depth, they just haven't done enough consistently. So I'm going to be really, really creative and go with the wide receivers because I just don't know if they're going to do it week in and week out. But Alec Pierce, that was a good day for him.
Yeah, huge, really big. Yeah, honestly, I'd probably decrease Campbell's playing time right now and increase Pierce and Doolin and maybe Strawn until Campbell starts to show you a little bit more. And I would agree, Zach. I do think there is at least a chance that Shaquille Leonard gives it a go on Sunday. I would not have said that this time last Thursday. Zach Keefer from The Athletic is with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Zach, we've talked, of course, a lot this week about the pass protection issues. If you had to lay the root of it, would you say it's more personnel-based or more communication-based?
Well, you ask the question 100 times, you get 100 different answers from 100 different guys. The vibe I got in the locker room on Sunday, now, that being said, these guys were pumped. They had just won a game, and I'm here asking them what the hell's wrong with the line. But they keep saying communication. They keep saying communication, and I just don't get it with a veteran center and a veteran quarterback. But the vibe and the word I've gotten the last couple of days, and we've heard this in press conferences as well, is it's not just the offensive line. And I actually buy that. It's really hard for us watching the tape to single out whose assignment is what. Like, right? Like, you don't know the plays exactly. I think Taylor missed one, and I think the tight ends haven't done quite as good of a job, and I think the receivers have missed a couple blocks, and those matter. Because I don't know if you guys have felt this watching the games, but you see JT take a run 6, 7, 8 yards, and last year you feel like he would have gotten that to the house. You just feel like he's really close to busting one. But to do that at the second level, you need that last block, or you need that last block to hold just one more second. And it feels like the receivers aren't making that last block or whatever it is. And I said this in the spring and I said this in the summer. They're going to miss Zach Pascal in the run game, and they're going to miss Jack Doyle in the run game. And those aren't splashy players. But those are the kind of guys that spring those big runs for Taylor. And I think Taylor's close. But I think the running backs and the receivers bear a little blame in this as well.
NFL's week to week, Zach, and the Kansas City game, I think there were a lot of people that felt like the roof would have caved in had they lost that game just based on record. But Tennessee, to me, this is the one actually. It was great to get that win against Kansas City. But now all of a sudden it feels like that pressure on the roof goes right back again because it's a divisional game, and it just feels like and I keep harping on, I'm not saying Jacksonville's going to hang around forever, but clearly the division itself, you only have one real throwaway, it seems at this point. And hell, you couldn't even beat them. But would you agree that because it's a divisional game, this one, if they don't get it, would be difficult to bounce back from long term?
Yeah, this is the can't-lose game. It was never last week. It was never the Chiefs game. It's always been this one. And it's not just Irsay and how he feels. This is the game that tells us that the Colts are different in 2022 than they were in 2021. And I think it will be because of the different talent the Titans have, right? I mean, they're missing some really good players. But I'm never going to underestimate Mike Vrabel. He gets the most out of his roster as any coach out there. And they just make games messy. They just make it tough up front. And talking to the players yesterday, I mean, they called it a dog fight. They called it a heavyweight fight. They called it, one player said it might be a 10-7 game. So this is the game that's more important than the standings, because if you get behind this, you got 1 tie and 2 losses in the division, and you're supposed to win the division. And this team has spent so much energy climbing out of these holes the last couple of years. This is the game. You cannot lose this game at home. You're going to see the Titans again in a couple of weeks down in Nashville. You lose this game, and winning a division championship all but disappears.
Again, Zach Keefer, some great stuff up on The Athletic this week. Not only those Jim Irsay comments, but kind of a cool look at these two teams and their philosophy, a run game focus from both the Colts and Titans. What does that mean for NFL success in the playoffs? A lot of kind of analytical stuff in there from Zach Keefer on that front. Zach, as always, thank you for the time, man.
Thanks, guys.
It's interesting that he's right about Alec Pierce. I mean, Alec Pierce definitely took a step, right?
That was huge for him. And again, I think, Jake, a lot of it is like when you put that deep ball on film, that go ball down the sidelines, and now that corner's thinking, man, he can beat me deep. You see on the game-winning touchdown drive, that route, little comeback route, that's because there's some separation created there because of what you showed a little bit earlier. We can get more into this tomorrow. But to the point about the Kansas City game last week, Jake, versus the Tennessee game this week, last week was, I think, more of the emotional jolt you needed. This week is more of the mathematic jolt you need. At some point, you got to win games in your division.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good way of saying it. Yep.
Said it earlier in the show. Last 7 years, the Colts haven't won a division title. If you look at the winners of the South, they've either had 5 or 4 division wins in those seasons. The Colts can't get to 5. They've already missed out 2 chances. If they want 4, they've got to win out.
Did you ever see that Joaquin Phoenix documentary, the one where he spoofed himself on Letterman? It was called I'm Still Here. And that's the documentary the Colts need to put together against Tennessee, right?
We will
still here.
Hopefully still be here tomorrow at 7 a.m.
We'll find out, right?
Give you some picks, close things out, and I guess introduce the month of October coming up here this week.